The whole thing kicks off under a heavy downpour at the peak of a super shady mountain. After a brutal clash, a bunch of people are laid out flat, leaving only 2 fighters standing. On the ground, one of the defeated guys tries to stretch out, completely out of gas. Meanwhile, another dude is gasping for air, showing just how insane this whole ordeal was. The weapon gripped by one of them is totally wrecked, showing the scars of the wild brawl that just wrapped up. Even though he's practically running on fumes, Baek Yang-hae stays on his feet, holding onto his blade for dear life. Everyone knows him as the absolute greatest among wandering swordsmen. The hero figures he earned that title after 18 years of roaming around, trying to find his family's lost martial arts. But honestly, he kind of hates it. Truth be told, he thinks being known as the best homeless swordsman is pretty lame. Looking around, our guy wonders if all his grinding was just to end up like this. After all, his ultimate goal of making his family a top-tier, respected clan is still a million miles away. Driven by that massive dream, he warns his rival to back off. His opponent is Namgung Yang, the young head honcho of the powerhouse Namgung clan. Not backing down even a little, the rival states he can't let someone with that much skill just walk away breathing. Namgung is acting totally arrogant about this whole showdown. Letting out a sigh, the young leader decides to push forward himself, asking what's the point of being so stubborn. He sizes up his rival with a cold, calculating glare. He drops a comment about how crazy it is that our hero reached god-tier martial arts using nothing but bottom-barrel techniques. Hearing that, Baek just adjusts his grip on his weapon, getting ready to throw down. Raising his shiny blade, Namgung declares he's not just gonna sit back and watch his opponent take over the martial arts world. Annoyed, Baek calls his rival garbage and lunges in for a strike. Their swords clash like crazy, while the drifter asks if this cowardly vibe is how the famous clan got so popular. The impact creates a shockwave around them, and the leader announces that today, one of them is going to permanently log off. And he's 100% sure the loser is going to be his enemy. Finding it hilarious, the MC roasts the prep boy's terrible sense of humor. Right after, he unleashes a devastating strike, asking if the guy seriously thinks he can take him down. Unable to block the hit perfectly, Namgung takes a step back, feeling the massive weight of the attack. Taking advantage of the opening, Baek keeps swinging with everything he's got. His focus is entirely on deleting this obstacle once and for all, holding on to an unbreakable will to honor his family's legacy, no matter the cost. Taunting his enemy into close combat, the warrior demands he fight with all his might. The final battle starts with a brutal clash, dragging on for 4 long hours of pure adrenaline. In that time they trade over 1,000 blows, proving neither of them is about to back down. Throughout this massive brawl, fatal attacks that could easily end either of them just keep coming, until the hero channels every last drop of his energy into one final, desperate battle cry, unleashing a lightning, fast strike that completely shatters the young leader's guard, leaving him 0 chance to block. Namgung's body finally gives out, and he starts crashing to the ground. Admitting the insane skill of the top wandering swordsman, the enemy takes the loss. In his last few seconds of being awake, he just mutters a quick apology for what he did. While silence takes over the wrecked battlefield, Baek rejects that weak apology. Furious, he snaps at the loser that it's way too easy to do terrible things and think a simple "sorry" fixes everything. But the extreme exhaustion kicks in fast, making the fighter cough as he feels the severe toll of the brawl. With 0 energy left to stand, he drops to his knees, struggling to catch his breath. Knowing his time is up, he focuses on his one big wish to go back home. Staring into the distance, the hero reminds himself that he has to make it back to the Baek mansion. His main goal was always to return and restore his dad's pride. Slowly things fade to black as his body loses its spark on the cold ground. Looking at his shaking hands, he panics, realizing he's going to break his promise to return. A crushing sadness takes over, and he begs his dad and brother for forgiveness for totally blowing it, crying bitterly because he couldn't turn the family estate into a top-tier clan like his dad wanted. Suddenly, a golden light pops up, announcing that destiny is hitting the reset button to change the past. A mysterious energy lets him know things are going back to square one so his deepest wishes can actually come true. Right then, a kid's eyes snap open. Super confused, the boy looks around, trying to process what just went down. In the middle of this massive courtyard, a grown-up's voice catches his attention. Looking around, he gets totally scared when he recognizes the front gate of the Baek mansion. The kid realizes that just a second ago he was knocking on heaven's door, and now some smiling dude is naming him Yang Huai, explaining that the name means brilliant sunlight, hoping his life stays lit forever. The nice guy introduces himself as Baek Mu Ryang, his dad, and sweetly asks to be called that from now on. Hyped up, Mu Ryang tells the kid to say something, which just makes the boy even more clueless. The hero remembers this is exactly what his dad looked like back when he was adopted. At first, he thinks his brain is just playing his greatest hits before he fades out, assuming it's all a comforting dream. But the patriarch gently tells him to open his eyes wide and check out his surroundings. Following the advice, the kid looks at what's happening right in front of him, seeing everyone from the Baek mansion gathered in the yard to welcome him. A young woman asks the boss if this kid is really the adopted son, and the boy instantly realizes it's his mom in her younger days. Next, he spots his little brother, who's looking pretty suspicious about the whole setup. On the flip side, little Yan Yan is super hyped that she just scored a new big brother. Taking it all in, Baek is mind blown, realizing he somehow time traveled to the past. That heavenly voice echoes in his head again, telling him to push forward and make his biggest dreams happen. A fresh spark of determination lights up the reincarnated fighter's eyes. Looking at his mom with affection, he makes a mental promise that if this is really a second run, he's going to protect and take care of everyone in his precious family like an absolute boss. With that, he clenches his fists hard, locking in his new mindset. Totally committed to turning his humble home into the most overpowered and influential clan in the martial arts scene. Looking at his mom, the boy notices she looks unbelievably young. Plus, his dad and the head butler, Mr. Han, are just radiating health and energy. Seeing his family all together, he knows for sure he's back to when he was just 8 years old. Realizing this, the hero grips his hand tight, knowing this is the golden ticket he always wanted. Armed with the memories of his past run, the kid plots to take the Baek family to the absolute peak of the martial world. Out of nowhere, everyone's attention in the yard snaps to the front gate. Hearing loud crashing noises outside, the family realizes some uninvited guests are rolling up. In a super violent move, the giant wooden gate gets completely smashed to pieces. Mu Ryang gets stressed about the break-in and yells, asking who has the nerve to crash their spot like this. Right then, the intruders show up trashing the place. Walking through the dust cloud from the rubble, one of the guys stomps right on the busted gate, showing zero respect. The violent crasher yells, asking if this is the back house, and demands their blood debt be paid right now. Sizing up the scary dude, the reincarnated kid recognizes the terrifying Gyu act, knowing history is repeating itself. The boss of the crew steps into the yard, saying he's here to collect for what the family's patriarch did. Thumping his chest, Gua claims to be the heir of the Hongjio faction's commander and blames the Lord for wiping out one of his affiliate gangs. Confused by the accusation, Mu Ryang asks what in the world this nonsense shakedown is even about. The Lord defends himself, saying the guys he took out were ruthless thugs kidnapping innocent folks, so getting billed for doing the right thing is wild. Completely ignoring the morals, the intruder claps back, saying those guys flew his flag, so attacking them was a massive disrespect. Because of that audacity, the cocky dude demands a crazy high cash payout for the damages. The threatening vibe leaves the head of the family totally stunned by this straight-up blackmail. Meanwhile, the kid watches in silence, remembering how bad this disaster of a day was. In his past life, this exact brawl was when his beloved dad took some really brutal injuries. To make things worse, the gang swiped the family's few valuables and completely dragged their name through the mud, which basically bankrupted the mansion and forced them all into a life of hardcore struggling. But now he clenches his fists, ready to flip the script on this tragedy. Oozing confidence, the kid steps up, making sure he isn't staying quiet this time. The surprise move catches the intruder's eye, and Mu Ryang orders the boy to get back immediately. Looking super stressed, the patriarch is genuinely terrified the kid is gonna get hurt. Calming the old man down, the boy asks him to chill and wonders if his dad actually has a game plan for this mess. With a confident smirk, the kid mentions he's got his own street smart tricks to survive and tells them to trust him. Walking right up to the bad guys, the young dude tells his family again not to sweat it. The faction boss watches the tiny kid strut up, while the kid swears to himself he won't repeat past mistakes. Facing the trauma from his old life, he focuses on braining his way out of this exact problem. Flipping his mood like a switch, the MC flashes a huge smile and greets the giant, calling him Big Bro. The over-the-top acting shocks everyone, leaving both the thugs and the kid's family completely speechless. Mad at the disrespect, the villain yells that he's 30 years old, and isn't about to be treated like an equal by a toddler. Totally ignoring the guy's rage, the kid hypes up the thug's looks, claiming he doesn't even look 20. The henchmen in the back whisper that their boss absolutely loves being called young, even though he looks rough. Hearing the obvious kissing up, the invasion leader flinches a bit, his ego totally stroked. Trying hard to hide how pleased he is, Gu sweats a little and agrees, saying his youthful glow is pretty famous around these parts. Getting back to his boss persona, the villain praises the chatty kid's sharp eye, but he shuts down the friendly vibe real quick, warning that cheap compliments aren't paying off the mansion's tab. Keeping up the innocent act, the boy shares that until super recently, he was just a stray living on the streets. He spins a tale about how he was almost snatched by some shady gang before the super generous patriarch Bake saved him. Hearing this tearjerker, the Lord feels his heart squeeze, watching how his newly adopted kid is acting. Wrapping up the story, the kid hypes up his dad's heroic deed. While the goons agree that those kidnappers sounded like absolute monsters, the boss gets a bit more serious, agreeing that what his so-called partners did was messed up. But he starts yelling again, claiming only his crew has the authority to discipline people wearing their badge. Disgusted by the double standards, the old butler calls the thugs out for acting like bullies, protecting absolute trash behavior. Right away, the villain steps to the old man, demanding total respect and threatening to cancel his subscription to life right there. Seeing things getting heated, the young drifter steps in with a laugh to chill everyone out. Keeping his smiley face, the kid suggests the two main guys just negotiate directly, claiming he's not part of the main beef. The boy offers some top-tier intel in exchange for wiping the debt clean. Finding the offer hilarious, the intruder smirks, actually kind of impressed by the tiny kid's crazy guts. He crouches down to the kid's level, promising to drop the beef if the tea is actually good. The MC tells the guy to listen up, leaning in to whisper the scoop. Glaring intensely, the villain warns the kid that he's going to be in deep trouble if he's just stalling with fake news. Letting out an anxious laugh, the boy reminds him that a real boss keeps his word, no matter what. The gang leader orders all his goons to back up so nobody eavesdrops on the secret. With the area clear, the reincarnated kid gets right by his ear, ready to drop the bombshell. Putting on a super serious face, the kid puts his ultimate plan into motion. Whispering calmly, he reveals there's a major rat hiding in Gu's crew. The crime boss's eyes go wide, getting hit with a mix of shock and stress from the news. Asked where he got this from, the kid lies and says he heard the street gossip while roughing it in the shady alleys. Sounding 100% confident, the boy details that the mole has a blue snake tattoo hidden on his body. The snake ink is the trademark of a rival gang that specializes in going undercover to ruin crews from the inside. Cutting to the chase, the MC drops the name Book Ek. Shin is the guy behind it all. Furious about the snitching, the boss grabs the kid's clothes, yelling that the guy he named is his right-hand man and they all got inspected recently. Sighing softly, the reincarnated kid calmly asks if that security check involves stripping the goons down to their underwear. That basic question totally stumps the big guy, making him realize the massive flaw in his security protocol. Grinding his teeth in anger, he realizes he might have been played by his most trusted guy. With a booming yell, the leader calls out his subordinate's name, making the rat shake in his boots among the other thugs. Trying to play dumb, the undercover guy answers the call, only to get a weird order to take his clothes off. Not taking any delays, the boss demands the guy strip down to his boxers right in the middle of the yard. Watching the drama unfold, the kid smirks, remembering the massive damage this mole caused in his previous playthrough. Completely raging, the boss points right at Buck Egg Shin, accusing him in front of the whole squad. Leaving zero room for argument, Gu orders him to strip down to his skivvies. The subordinate completely freezes at his boss's crazy demand. Trying to dodge the issue, the guy begs for a break, saying stripping in this yard is doing way too much. Hearing that, the giant stumps the ground, making it clear that innocent people have nothing to hide. Promising that he's the only one looking, the leader screams at him to take the clothes off already. Out of options, the guy swallows hard, realizing he totally lost control of the situation. Suddenly, the so-called Ali's face turns super dark and menacing. Getting violent, Book aggressively shoves his crewmates, yelling at them to clear the way. Totally shocked by the sudden run for it, the boss confirms the guy really was a snake and yells at him to freeze. Sprinting for his life, the traitor wonders how things went south so fast, knowing he has to ghost this place immediately. Sweating bullets, he tries to peek back to see how close he is to getting caught. Right then, a massive shadow covers him, and the traitor panics, realizing his boss is already on his heels. The villain glares at his old buddy with pure hatred, promising this won't be an easy getaway. Quick as a flash, Guick drops a combo of brutal attacks to punish the rat. The dust finally settles in the mansion's yard after the fast and chaotic beatdown. Completely wrecked and tied up in thick ropes, the mole can barely keep his eyes open. Showing some gratitude for the family's clutch assist in outing the fake, the boss decides to bounce and wipe the debt completely. Keeping up the innocent kid act, the boy listens to the giant take back his earlier disrespect. But before the squad can roll out, the youngster points out there's one tiny detail left to handle. Flashing a charming laugh, the young drifter offers to break it down real simple for them. He points out that catching the rat only settled the old beef between them. Pointing a finger at the busted storefront, the MC asks how they plan to cover the damages for the smashed sign and door. The pieces of the Bake family gate are still scattered everywhere, proving how wild the break-in was. Sweating from the stress, the gang leader mutters to himself, realizing he's getting ruthlessly extorted by a toddler. Knowing he's beat, Guick tosses a heavy bag of coins on the ground, saying that's all the cash he's got for the repairs. Watching quietly, the patriarch is blown away by his new kid's insane street smarts. Inside, the kid is celebrating the win, thinking back to the rough years he spent fighting to survive in the martial world's gutters. Forcing a super awkward smile, the massive dude announces they're actually leaving this time. Then, the whole crew of troublemakers turns around and leaves the property without causing any more drama. Feeling relieved by how it played out, the hero thinks he perfectly snapped the cursed chain linking them to that gang. Watching the thugs walk away peacefully, he hypes himself up for keeping his dad safe and finally rewriting their tragic future. With that, the kid clenches his hands, loving the rush of actually being in the driver's seat for once. Overflowing with determination, he promises himself he's going to fix every single disaster he lived through in his past life. Hearing his dad call him, the kid gets showered with praise for diffusing a sketchy situation with 0 casualties. The old butler jumps in, laughing and proudly pointing out they even managed to finesse some cash out of those arrogant thugs. To keep his cover, the kid just rubs the back of his head with a modest smile, hiding his veteran adult brain. Even though he's only 8 years old, his moves just shifted the timeline for everyone there. After that wild event, literally nobody in the house hesitated to treat the MC as a legit, respected member of the Bake family. Bright and early the next morning, the kid ties his hair back, getting pumped for his new reality. His serious, laser-focused look shows he's not about to waste a single second of this respawn. The sun lights up the family's massive estate, kicking off what looks like a totally chill day. Out in the huge training area, the reincarnated kid starts grinding his martial arts with crazy energy and focus. The archery targets are just chilling in the back, waiting for the hardcore training to begin. A bunch of wooden training swords are lined up neat and tidy on the racks near the center of the ring. Throwing a lightning-fast high kick, he focuses on properly warming up his new body's muscles. Breathing hard from the non-stop hustle, the kid quickly breaks a sweat from all the intense movement. Right after, he plants both hands in the dirt to launch his body weight super fast, pulling off a flawless mid-air flip. The young dude is blown away by his own insane speed right now. Actually feeling what it's like to have a young, energized body gets him super hyped. Sticking the landing on the dirt perfectly, he finishes the flip without losing his balance at all. Loving the vibe, the kid clenches his fist, analyzing how broken this new physical state really is. Thrilled, he realizes his current body feels super light and doesn't have any of the damage from his past mistakes with his energy pathways. In his past life, the fighter wrecked his internal channels permanently because he tried to master the martial arts all by himself. Knowing this, he plans to level up his power slowly to reach crazy heights without going through all that pain again. His solo grind gets interrupted by the patriarch, who rolls up friendly like, chatting about how the kid woke up so early. The nice lord asks if the new arrival slept well and got some peace in a bed he wasn't used to. With a bright smile, the little drifter replies that he honestly just had the best sleep of his entire long life. Happy he adjusted so fast, his dad points to the back, mentioning that yesterday's chaos ruined their chance for proper intros. Presenting 2 slightly shy kids, the Lord officially introduces the hero's new little siblings. His dad explains that Hien so is 7 and Yan is only 5, meaning the reincarnated guy is the big bro of the group. Bouncing with excitement, the little girl flashes a huge smile, hyping up how epic the MC was for scaring off those creepy invaders. The kid listens warmly as the youngest sister brags to anyone who will listen about how lucky she is to get such a cool older brother. Praising how sweet she is, he says thanks, getting a little red in the face and calling her super adorable. Annoyed by all the love fest, Hanso grumbles with his arms crossed, sarcastically calling the new kid a little piggy. Acting totally entitled, the spoiled brat yells that he's the real heir to the mansion, and he'll never bow down to a random stranger. The patriarch tries to shut down the disrespect right away, while the little girl just scoffs at her grumpy brother. Watching the whole thing play out, the veteran warrior notices the kid's toxic attitude is exactly the same as before. He figures this childish rage is just standard fear and insecurity about losing his spot as the golden child to an adopted kid. In his past life, the MC always chose to back down and agree to everything, just out of respect for the brat's biological bloodline. Old memories remind him that letting the kid run wild without boundaries turned him into a total menace around the house. Thanks to all that freedom, Hyun-soo grew up into a garbage human being with a terrible personality. The hero's chill expression vanishes as he remembers all the massive disasters this selfish attitude brought down on the family later on. While the kid keeps screaming about being the only legit oldest son, the former hobo decides to take extreme measures to change the timeline. With zero patience for tantrums, Yang Hui steps up and grabs the kid by the collar, demanding he speak to his older brother with some respect. Seeing things get physical, the patriarch jumps in instantly, telling the boy to let go of the youngest. Mu Ryang thinks it's better to give Han-so some time to process everything, since it all happened way too fast, arguing that giving him a harsh lecture right now will just make the stubborn kid hold a bigger grudge. The dad believes kids bond naturally when they hang out, and the hero promises he's going to put in the work to build that friendship. Ruffling his adopted son's hair, the Lord says they'll have a real talk later to get on the same page. He goes out of his way to praise the ex-drifter's crazy maturity, feeling bad that his youngest doesn't have even half of those manners. Hearing that direct comparison makes the kid silently boil with rage. Sweating a bit at the vibe, Yang Hui thinks saying stuff like that in front of the kid is only going to make the random hate worse. To cut the tension, the patriarch announces that from now on, they're both going to train together for about 2 hours every morning. Smiling excitedly, the boss asks them to get along, getting a quick, energetic nod from the reincarnated kid. The second the dad turns his back and leaves the yard, the chill vibe totally disappears. The older boy keeps a close eye on his difficult, new little brother's behavior, trying to start a conversation peacefully. He asks what they should do first and offers to show off some of his workout routine, shooting him a look of pure disgust. The young hare just asks what the point of that is. Crossing his arms with a ton of attitude, the snobby kid makes it clear he has zero interest in bonding. Hyun-soo demands he drop the fake friend act, calling the new guy a beggar and asking why he even has to accept him as an older brother. Keeping his cool, the hero replies straight up that, first, their dad gave an order, and second, their mom agreed to it. Plus, he points out that even if the kid is the legit biological heir, you can't argue with the age gap. Furious at the solid logic, the kid turns his back and starts throwing more insults, making Yang Hui wonder if the hate is because he used to be poor, or because they aren't blood. The kid screams that it's both, claiming even their sworn uncle comes from high society and wasn't scooped off the streets. The reincarnated young man listens to this parade of prejudice with a look of pure disappointment, mentally noting how the younger one keeps aggressively dropping the word beggar to try and drag him down. Letting out a heavy sigh, the hero wonders how someone as awesome and solid as his dad managed to raise a kid with such a toxic mindset. Thinking he needs to delete this garbage behavior right now, or it's going to cause a monumental disaster later. He clearly remembers that in his previous run, when this kid took over the family, he completely ignored advice from anyone older, only caring about his fancy cravings and selfish tantrums. The brat managed to totally bankrupt the back family legacy. The memory of that nightmare past makes the MC's blood boil, swearing he'll never let that train wreck happen again. Deciding to teach a hands-on lesson, he steps up aggressively, scaring the kid into backing up. The young hare panics and takes a few steps back, suddenly realizing he crossed way over the line with his trash talk. Figuring a good old physical jump scare is the perfect cure for a brat, the ex-drifter hands out a very loud disciplinary smack to his target. Sprawled out in the dirt and holding his head after the hit, the kid whines while Yang Hui feels like his soul just got cleansed. The MC calmly admits that yeah, he was a street kid who had to beg for scraps just to make it. But then he throws it right back in the kid's face, asking if he could even survive one single day out in the real world by himself. Grabbing the kid by the collar, the former hobo asks if he'd have the guts to talk trash to the scary fighters of the beggars sect like that. Leaving his little brother terrified by the intense vibe, he orders him to permanently burn it into his brain that everyone under the sun deserves respect. The little here stays on the ground, processing that harsh reality check. Letting go of the kid's clothes, the hero realizes that just talking isn't going to actually rewire a spoiled kid's brain. To settle this in the only language the martial world gets, he grabs a wooden practice sword and tosses another one at his opponent. The kid grabs the training gear looking terrified as he's told straight up to get on his feet and fight. Throwing out a spicy bet, the older brother swears that if he loses, he'll do whatever the kid wants, even pack his bags and leave the mansion. The chance to kick out this annoying guest that easily makes the kid's eyes light up with hope. However, the hero's win condition is that the younger brother has to treat him like a real older brother with absolute obedience from now on. Watching the showdown from the sidelines, little Yan enthusiastically cheers for both fighters. Locking in their stances, the boys face off in the middle of the ring, weapons ready. At that moment, the reincarnated kid stomps hard on the dirt to kick off the match. Totally focused on destroying the kid's empty ego, the hero decides he needs to flex an absolutely devastating skill gap right now. On the other side, Hien adjusts his grip on his weapon, scoffing loud enough to make his disrespect obvious. Dropping into a defensive stance, the boy brags that he's been training martial arts with his dad for 2 years. Overflowing with confidence in his own skills, he agrees to the rules, thinking it's going to be an easy win. Throwing some more fuel on the fire, the reincarnated kid smirks and says he'll let the opponent swing 3 times without defending. Feeling his pride take a hit from the disrespect, the kid warns that he's absolutely not holding back his swings. Putting on the ice-cold face of a veteran master, Yang Hui gets ready to humble the kid without an ounce of mercy. Rushing in recklessly, the little hare charges forward, kicking up dirt with a basic and totally predictable attack. But his aggressive push turns into pure panic when his target vanishes from his sight, only to hear a creepy whisper coming from behind him. Completely dizzy from the insanely fast dodge, the youngest tries to spin around, swinging at the air in a blind panic to protect himself. Letting out a yell of frustration, he drops a heavy overhead strike using his entire body weight. The training sword is stopped without breaking a sweat, leaving the kid mind blown that he didn't do a single point of damage. Keeping the perfect flow of his defense, the ex-drifter capitalizes on the opening and delivers a crisp smack right to the kid's head. The hare faceplants into the dirt, crying softly, while the winner mocks him, pointing out the deal was to land hits, not take them. Holding a chill but terrifying pose, the older brother warns that they're still going to need a lot of time for that supposed heart-to-heart. Rubbing his throbbing forehead, the loser whines with tears in his eyes, totally unable to compute how that super fast hit even happened. Calling his rival out for fighting dirty, he tries to make up cheap excuses, but just gets a villainous glare in return. Going into full panic mode looking at the new kid's dark energy, the kid starts crawling backwards, trying to pull off an impossible escape. Skipping the chatter, the hero pushes forward and unleashes a flurry of fast strikes to permanently tame the loudmouth brat. Totally blind to the heavy tension, the little girl jumps for joy and crowns Wee the ultimate winner of the match. She runs over and hugs the winner's leg, while the bratty kid stays laid out on the floor processing the massive loss. Dusting off his clothes, the veteran fighter takes a breath. Super pleased he established the real pecking order of the house on day 1. Checking on the bruised kid, he actually respects that even while panicking, the boy never let go of his training weapon. Doubling down on his promise to turn this kid into a decent guy no matter what, he orders the loser to get on his feet right now. Scraping together whatever ego he has left, the young hare follows the order, groaning from the soreness. Defying the expectation of more punishment, the older brother praises the kid's toughness, preaching that someone from a martial bloodline can never give in to physical pain. Hearing genuine props right after catching a brutal beating leaves Hien so completely stunned and honestly a little touched. Riding that emotional momentum, the reincarnated kid demands the right answer and finally hears the boy stutter out a brother with some actual respect. Satisfied with his big, brain parenting move, the former drifter promises to take his newly disciplined brother on a fun trip. making the little sister super happy. With the peace fully restored in the yard thanks to some hands-on character building, the trio starts walking together toward the arena exit. Bubbling with hype, Hui suggests to Yan that they sneak off the estate together, promising to show her everything the outside world has to offer. The trio reaches the edge of the family's massive property, looking for a way to break out. The little girl struggles, trying to squeeze through a super tight gap in the wall. Seeing this, the big brother asks her to make some room for a second, leaving her confused. Heenso also squeezes through the tight spot, complaining a ton about getting covered in dust. As soon as the kid makes it through, the hero grabs his arm to help him stand up safely. The hero finds the whole thing hilarious, asking if these siblings have never used a dog hole before and noticing how properly they were raised. Well, the hero whines about having to do this crazy stealth mission and ruining his clothes. The older one points out this was literally their only way out. The reincarnated kid pats his little sister's head to remind her they haven't been out for months, promising they'll have a blast even though she's worried they have zero cash. Rocking a super confident smirk, the former hobo proves he already thought of that little detail. Flexing a silver coin, he says he borrowed it from the thugs who crashed their house yesterday, getting the youngest super hyped about buying snacks. Still pretty skeptical so asks if it's really smart for them to walk around alone, since this area is known for being sketchy for kids. Thumping his chest, the hero promises he'll handle it if anybody tries to start some drama with them. But the spoiled kid looks right at his little sister, showing some genuine concern for her safety. Explaining his worries, he warns that she's still really young and it would be a total disaster if someone tried to snatch her. Noticing this protective side, the MC teases him, saying he's actually a good dude, making the kid turn his head, totally embarrassed. Right after, he reminds them that just yesterday he was living on these streets, so he knows every inch of this place and exactly where it's safe to walk. With a mischievous grin, the former drifter reveals he also hired a private bodyguard to keep their walk totally chill. Not understanding a single thing, the massive Gyu stares at the kids in the middle of the street, completely lost. Acting like they're old pals, the reincarnated kid waves happily, calling the giant Big Bro, while the little girl whispers, asking if that isn't the scary guy from yesterday. The crime boss just keeps staring at the trio of kids in dead silence, trying to process what's happening in front of him. Trying really hard to keep his tough guy act, he demands the kid explain exactly what this unfunny prank is about. Furious at the disrespect, the giant man demands to know why he'd be out here babysitting kids in the middle of a crowd. Keeping up the sarcasm, the boy rubs it in the guy's face that he was the one who agreed to be called Big Bro yesterday. Remembering his own embarrassing words hits the villain like a truck, making him sweat cold as he realizes he fell right into the kid's trap. Turning up the heat, the hero asks if a man of honor would break his own promise, giving the guy two tricky options to pick from. Flashing the most calculating smile he can muster, the kid calmly asks which option the giant is gonna lock in. Completely cornered by the kid's logic, Goek grinds his teeth, boiling with rage that he can't escape this humiliating setup. Swallowing his pride, the gang leader ends up accepting the bodyguard gig, while the youngest sister cheers in the middle of the busy market. Capitalizing on the win, the little hero points straight to the food stalls, starting to blow the coins he scored. The family's youngest sister sprints with excitement to the sugary skewer stand, totally mesmerized by the colorful treats. The little squad walks through the lively market, creating a super weird scene with the scary thug playing babysitter. Tugging on her older brother's clothes, the little girl begs for more snacks, getting an instant green light to grab whatever she wants. Glowing with her new freedom, she runs around full of energy, while the snobby hare and the makeshift bodyguard just watch in silence. Right then, the smell of roasted meat skewers starts wafting through the air, catching everybody's attention. Staring at the mouth-watering food, Heenso gulps, trying really hard to hide how badly he wants a bite. Spotting the kid's craving, the MC hands a piping hot skewer right to him, calling him by a sweet nickname. The boy is totally shocked by the nice gesture, asking how the ex-drifter knew he was more of a meat guy than a sweet tooth. Letting out a good laugh, the older brother explains it was super easy to figure out, since the kid kept secretly eyeing the stall. Hyped to try the fresh food, the child stares at the tasty meat, already giving in to the craving. Unable to hold out any longer, the hare takes a massive bite of the skewer to test the seasoning. With his mouth full, the boy's eyes light up when he realizes how insane this street food tastes, while the reincarnated kid just smiles, happy with the result. Admitting he lost this round, he confirms it's amazing, and the hero jokes that it tastes so good exactly because he bought it. Changing the subject fast, the boy steps up, warning the youngest not to house too much sugar all at once. Playing the caring brother role, Han so scolds her, saying too many sweets will ruin her health, sparking a little kid argument that completely melts the hero's heart. The story jumps ahead through Yan's diary entries, explaining that the family patriarch was absolutely furious when they got back to the estate. After spending the whole day goofing off and enjoying their freedom, the three siblings ended up kneeling in the dirt yard, listening to a massive lecture from their dad. But the newly arrived brother stepped up like a boss and took all the heat, demanding to take the punishment alone to protect the younger ones. In her innocent writing, the little girl admits she was secretly relieved to dodge her dad's anger so easily, proving that dealing with that kind of strict punishment was something she absolutely hated. Even with the slight bump at the end of the day, the market trip proved to be one of the best times they'd ever shared. The sun starts to drop slowly, hitting the town's buildings with an orange glow that means the afternoon is wrapping up. The clouds turn warm colors in the sky, while the busy streets start winding down for the night. Chilling by himself at a rundown food stall, the faction leader gets scared by the sudden drop in of the bossy kid. Dripping with charisma, the kid flashes a massive smile and announces he's here, calling the giant bro. Once again, stopping his noodle dinner mid-bite, Gua glares at the kid with a mix of shock and pure rage. Practically choking from the scare, the villain yells, demanding to know why this kid is ruining his peace and quiet again. The guy's angry shout echoes around the block, breaking the chill vibe of the solo dinner he was trying to enjoy. Completely ignoring the older guy's rage, the reincarnated kid plays it cool, saying he just wanted to say hi, making the brute rub his head wondering if the babysitting gig wasn't enough punishment. Flipping his expression to something super focused and sharp, the young MC warns that this time, it's strictly business. Thrown off by the sudden mood switch, the crime boss raises an eyebrow, trying to figure out what kind of deal a literal child could offer. A second later, the sound of silverware slamming on the plate mixes with the massive man's scream of pure disbelief, completely mind-blown and sweating bullets. Guick repeats the crazy claim that the kid knows exactly where a rival gang stashed all their silver wealth. The kid tells the guy to shut up immediately, keeping up the lie that he heard these rich rumors, while trying to survive in the town's shady alleys. Still doubting this sketchy source, the thug analyzes the offer, looking for any holes in the kid's story. Pointing his finger with absolute confidence, the hero cuts the fluff and invites the leader to join this master plan. The wild idea of teaming up to haste someone else's fortune creates a mysterious vibe in the open-air restaurant. Crossing his arms and leaning back, Guick asks why he'd share such juicy intel instead of keeping all the loot for himself. Busting out his persuasion skills, the boy chuckles, hyping up his big bro's incredibly honorable and famous reputation. Catching the thug totally off guard, the compliment strokes the giant's ego, and he admits nobody has ever praised his character before. Killing the friendly vibe in a split second, the former drifter announces he was just trolling and the real reason involves some highly specific gossip. The tension takes over the spot again, while the soup gets cold and the bowl abandoned in the middle of their serious talk. Focusing his gaze to look super intimidating, the boy reveals he found out the organization leader's sixth heir got himself a secret mistress. Shock hits Guick's face when the kid finishes his sentence, airing out the massive family drama inside the faction. Furious that his dirty laundry is getting aired by a random kid, the huge man stands up from the table, giving off a dark energy and swearing at the boy. Holding a chill pose, the hero warns he's not some enlightened master who's just gonna sit there and take insults. The sarcasm makes Guick boil with rage, warning with a terrifying aura that he is officially out of patience with this brat. Totally unfazed by the threat, the kid shoots a sharp glare right back at the massive man. Asking the guy to hear him out, he argues that this random team-up can fix the gang leader's biggest headache. The former hobo swears he'll figure out a way to make the woman involved in this mess the giant's official wife, making it crystal clear that he's talking about the massive crush the thug is hiding from everyone. In his past life, this exact mystery woman was the main spark that set off a catastrophic civil war inside the Hangio faction. Despite Guick's intense love, the top boss of the faction would never allow an ex-courtesan to be the official partner of his heir. Wanting to expand his own power, the crime lord demanded a high-status daughter in law and ended up taking out his son's lover. But the organization's commander made a fatal miscalculation by underestimating how serious it was, completely ignoring the fact that this girl was the only soul the massive man loved more than his own life. That disaster permanently shattered the bond between the leader and his here right in the core of the crime syndicate, triggering an all-out internal war that painted the streets with blood and ruined the organization that used to run the whole area. Knowing all this, the reincarnated kid figures his child body still limits his moves a lot, meaning he desperately needs a heavy, hitting partner until he grows up. Seeing the perfect opening, he plans to lock in the thug's absolute loyalty by using the girl's forgiveness and protection as a bargaining chip. Curious about the bold offer, the crime boss asks how exactly this pint-sized kid plans to cash in on such a massive promise. Keeping a super serious face, the giant listens to the kid's logic. Doubting what a rookie can do, he gets shocked when the kid claims nobody would dare question the girl's past if Ak became the top dog of the group. The little MC spells it out that the rival Chiangsa group isn't just hoarding coins, they're smuggling toxic explosives to wipe out their organization, pointing out that the giant needs to move fast and play the hero to stop this tragedy before the group takes unrecoverable losses. The thug raises an eyebrow processing the intel, while the MC demands an answer about teaming up, guaranteeing that saving the whole squad from a surprise attack would be a god-tier flex to climb the ranks. Clenching his fist in silence, the big guy remembers that this kid's intel on the rival spies was already insanely accurate, knowing for a fact that nobody on Earth beats street rats when it comes to spreading and collecting top-secret gossip. Realizing this, the bandit commander figures the odds of this crazy story being 100% true are huge. Giving in to his thirst for power, he orders the kid to lead the way, warning that he's only trusting him this one time. Super happy his strategy worked, the reincarnated kid turns around, hyping up his new partner's big brain. Night falls over the town, lighting up the empty streets with just the faint glow of the full moon. The scene shifts to a cluster of old buildings a little ways off from the busy downtown. Around the spot, some mean-looking guys are chilling on the ground wearing busted clothes to hide who they really are. Their tough faces and alert stances prove real quick they are definitely not helpless drifters. Keeping a non-stop watch, one of the hidden guards scans the perimeter to make sure the zone stays secure. Watching it all from a distance, Guak thinks the enemy's camouflage is garbage and offers to take out one of the guards, asking if the kid can handle the other two. The three guards are spread out talking, while the giant nervously asks if the brat at least has some combat skills. Instead of using standard weapons, the kid just scoops up some rocks from the dirt with his small hands. Oozing confidence, the little genius preaches that in situations like this, it's way better to use your brain instead of brute force. Meanwhile, one of the fake guards yawns, looking bored out of his mind leaning against the freezing wall. Suddenly, a booming shout breaks the quiet night, grabbing everyone's attention over there. Stepping out of the shadows with crazy boldness, the little hero marches toward the enemies, announcing he's there making a racket. The three guys look confused, not getting why a kid is at a secret hideout at this hour of the night. Walking right up without showing an ounce of fear, the kid gets interrogated about why he's wandering around these parts. Acting like a jerk, one of the beefy guys pushes the kid's head, warning that this isn't a spot to beg for change and telling him to get lost. Faking innocence, the former hobo asks them not to treat a fellow street brother so cold, bringing up rumors about weird drifters who never try to hustle for food. Right after, he holds out a bowl full of soup, inviting the shady guys to share a meal together. Staring at the peasant food, the rival gang members make faces of pure disgust. With zero patience, the guy slaps the bowl away, rejecting the offer, which makes the kid point out how bizarre it is for a beggar to turn down free food. Dropping into a dark expression, the little intruder asks straight up if these guys are actually who they claim to be. Realizing their cover might be blown, the goons start whispering to each other. One of them suggests taking out the nosy kid fast and quiet right then and there. But the squad leader shuts down the violent plan, choosing to just shoo the kid away so they don't draw unwanted heat to their secret base. Listening to their chat, the reincarnated kid locks his eyes on the enemy's movements. Sizing up their energy, the veteran fighter realizes they are mid-tier brawlers and admits his current body doesn't have enough chi to beat them in a fair fight. Still, he stumps hard on a rock in the dirt, proving he has zero intention of running away. The angry guard turns back around, promising to hand out a brutal beatdown if the kid doesn't vanish from his sight. Faking an accident with dramatic flair, the kid trips over the rock on purpose and throws the dirty bowl with the leftover soup right at the enemy's face. The boiling liquid splashes down the guy's face, making him scream in rage, while the kid apologizes, acting terrified. Shifting his stance in a split second, the MC plans to make up for his massive physical disadvantage with pure martial skill. With a quick slide of his feet on the dirt, he closes the gap flawlessly. Moving with terrifying speed for his age, the MC extends his arm, executing a god-tier movement technique, still covered by the bowl. The big guy freezes in shock, seeing the kid cross the distance in the blink of an eye. Using the rock he hid in his hand, the young dude delivers a devastating strike right in the middle of the dish. The unreal impact punches through the metal and tags the guy's face, making him cough up blood from the crazy force. Seeing their buddy drop, the other two goons are totally stunned by what they just watched. With one fast and lethal move, the tiny attacker knocks out a way bigger guard without giving him a chance to block. Flexing his clenched fist, the kid sarcastically asks if these fake hobos never heard the most famous proverb in the fighting world. Flexing his morals, he explains everyone needs to watch out for women, old folks, and kids, because judging the threat level by how they look is a fatal mistake. Furious at the lecture, one of the remaining guards pulls a weapon, swearing at the kid and getting ready to attack. Right then, two massive hands appear out of nowhere, grabbing the goons' heads from behind. Showing off his absolute brutality, Guick tells the enemies to shut up while he lifts them into the air like they're toys. The bandit commander slams their two heads together with such insane force that you can actually hear their skulls cracking. The guys collapse to the ground completely out cold, prompting a sarcastic comment from the kid about how nice the crunch sounded. Hyped up, the ex-drifter points a finger, praising his bro's ruthless and calculated move against the rival gang. Dusting off his hands, the huge man concludes that even though they went down easy, those guys were solid mid-tier fighters. Staring at the kid's chill face, the thug wonders how hardened warriors caught such a fast loss to a boy, guessing the kid popped some kind of mystic buff. With the three guards officially dealt with, the path to raid the base and grab the explosives is wide open for both of them. The enemy guard is still laid out on the ground, knocked out cold after taking that surprise hit. Capitalizing on the clear path, Guick is already busting open the warehouse's wooden door. The two of them finally step into the dark space, running right into an endless sea of stacked crates. Finding the sheer amount insane, the giant man suggests they loot everything fast so they don't run into problems. The kid scans the room, oozing confidence, knowing exactly what they came here to find. Turning on the charm, the boy hypes his partner up for wiping the guards without breaking a sweat. Letting out a hearty laugh, the bandit boss brags about his own skills, while the hero thinks his ego is astronomical. Cutting the pointless chatter, the reincarnated kid pops the lid off one of the chests. Catching the giant's eye, a bright light hits their faces instantly as the box opens, revealing the night's jackpot. The container is absolutely packed with silver cash, leaving the thug mesmerized by the fortune. Groaning in shock, Guick realizes the payout is way bigger than he expected. Trying to pull a fast one, the big guy suggests the kid grab the toxic bombs and leave all the coins with him. The kid instantly fires back, pissed off, reminding him the deal was an even 50-50 split. Going full ice cold mode, the little hero declares he's keeping the cash and his partner can take the explosives. The faction leader stares at the kid with a dead serious look, trying to process that gutsy demand. Calling the boy a brat, Guick asks if he planned to hustle him from the very beginning. In his head, the kid figures the giant isn't a bad dude, but he needs to test his loyalty for real. Throwing out the bait, the boy opens his arms, telling the thug to end his life right there. Absolutely stunned by the guts, the criminal listens as the kid says beating a child would be child's play. Wrapping up his crazy logic, the young mastermind assures him the Back family wouldn't even care that much, arguing that since he was just adopted recently, everyone would just assume he ran away from the mansion. Sweat drips down the bandit leader's face, freezing up at the kid's totally cold attitude. Keeping that chill smile, the boy rubs it in that this is the perfect chance to delete him without leaving a trace. Silence takes over the warehouse while the giant processes how insane this kid is. Visibly rattled, the man grinds his teeth, trying to decode what's going through the boy's head. Assessing the situation, Guick notices the kid is acting completely fearless, remembering how he seems to walk on the edge of a cliff constantly without caring about the risks. At that moment, The criminal hallucinates a massive shadow of an unreal fighter looming over the kid's figure. The stance gives off the perfect aura of a wandering warrior who has faced the worst nightmares the universe has to offer. Shaking his head to clear the vision, the thug mutters, trying to snap back to reality, admitting he got spooked by that terrifying presence. Gu-ek realizes he's just getting played. Letting out a long sigh of frustration, he backs down and tells the kid to take all the coins. Explaining his choice, the giant claims he doesn't want to dirty his hands by taking out a defenseless rookie, also admitting that offing the kid who called him bro all day would give him nightmare fuel. The boy listens in surprise, while his partner swears that just securing the explosives is enough for him to rank up in the gang. Proving his theory right, the hero realizes this guy actually has a good heart hiding behind the tough exterior. A genuine, soft smile pops up on the kid's face, super happy he managed to score a solid ally. Wanting to wrap this up fast, Gu-ek turns his back, ready to bounce from the secret base. Jumping up out of nowhere, the kid hugs the giant, joking that he's definitely going to haunt his terrible dreams. The thug yells in anger, calling the kid a weirdo, but the boy just jokes around asking if he liked the hug. When the sun came up the next day, total peace ruled the front gate of the Bake Mansion without a hitch. Inside the house, the vibe is totally different, with the dad and the head butler absolutely losing their minds. Right in the middle of the table, the chest packed with silver shines bright, lighting up the whole room. Panicking over such a massive fortune sitting there, the butler begs Sui to explain where he got it. Bursting with pride, the kid thumps his chest, swearing he hustled hard for every single coin. Not buying the excuse at all, the old servant asks how a tiny kid managed to pull off a bag like that. Hyped up, the boy suggests blowing the cash on fixing the roof, paying off their debts, and buying meds for his mom. Hearing these pure wishes, the servant breaks down in tears, touched by the little lord's kindness. On the flip side, the family patriarch is standing there staring at the stash with a dead serious face. Rubbing his face stressed out, the dad demands the kids spit out the truth about where the money came from. Fearing the worst, the lord asks if the kid got into some deep trouble, but the boy swears there was no drama. Without hesitating, Hui says he hung out with Gu-ek, the same guy who smashed their front gate yesterday. Letting out a little chill laugh, the hero starts explaining everything that went down during the night. The sun shines on the peaceful courtyard of the estate while the chat goes down inside. A tray with a teapot and snacks pops up on the table, proving that hours just flew by. Wrapping up the story, the boy argues that a real hero takes dirty money to do good things. With shiny eyes, he claims he just wanted to pay back the love for being taken into their home. The dad and the servant just sit there in total silence, processing the heavy weight of those words. The head of the family looks down, thinking hard about his new kid's unbelievable flex. Breaking the silence, the patriarch admits the right move would be to ground him, but acknowledges the kid as a genius. The dad realizes it would be a huge mistake to clip the wings of someone so capable just because he's young. With a heavy heart, he regrets that the estate doesn't have the resources to train the boy the right way. But he firmly promises he will never stand in the way of the kid's bright future. The only thing the leader asks is for the kid to swear to stay away from super sketchy situations. Hui listens to this genuine request, feeling a massive warmth in his heart. The former drifter remembers that in both lifetimes, this guy always looked out for him like a real son. Showing his thanks for that trust, the dad warns that there's no way the house is keeping the entire bag. Pushing half the coins back, the leader orders the boy to manage his own money, leaving the servant totally shocked. The kid is startled by the choice, realizing the crazy pressure of managing that much cash at only 8 years old. After the initial shock, the young hero locks himself in the library to plot his next moves. Looking at the pile of books, he decides he has to invest the coins to flip the bag fast. Curious about the quiet, little Yan peeks her head over the table, spying on her brother. Being totally adorable, the little girl asks what he's writing down on the paper with such intense focus. Hui holds the paper out for her to read, but she pouts, reminding him she hasn't learned how to read yet. Getting where she's coming from, the hero explains he's writing a fun novel to stack up more coins. Hearing her brother's idea, Yaon happily shares that their mom loves reading those kinds of simple stories. Hearing that, Hui agrees and says he was already planning to visit her. The scratchy sound of the brush hitting the paper proves he didn't waste any time getting to work. Holding the pages already filled with his handwriting, the kid flashes a confident smile, wondering if she'll find the book entertaining. The massive finished manuscript sits on the table, flexing the dramatic title of a tragedy he just made up. The late afternoon rolls by quietly, shining warm sunlight over the entire Bake mansion. Meanwhile, deep in the private rooms, a harsh cough echoes, breaking the quiet vibe. The family matriarch tries to muffle the sound with a piece of cloth, clearly looking drained from the whole thing. Jong Inwa is struggling hard to breathe, showing that her health is already in a really bad spot. Right then, the hero walks into the room, saying her name in a super gentle voice. Surprised by the random drop-in, the woman looks up at her adopted son. The boy steps closer holding his handmade project. While she flashes a tired smile to welcome him, she sweetly asks what's up with the visit. And he just says he wanted to hang out and talk. Hui stays quiet for a second, just taking in how rough she's looking. Smelling the heavy scent of medicine in the room, the hero remembers that in his previous run, his mom caught a brutal sickness that ignored every treatment. And sadly, that ruthless disease ended up taking Inhwa way too soon, leaving a massive scar on the whole family. The Lord tried everything to cure his love, blowing money they didn't even have. But the loans to buy those crazy expensive treatments turned into an absolute avalanche of debt. Because of that massive financial hole, the clan went completely broke, and the patriarch was eaten alive by depression after losing his wife. It was right after that tragic event that little Hyan so also lost his way and turned into a nightmare of a person. Realizing how huge this disaster is, the kid figures that to save the whole family, he has to cure her sickness first, which requires a ton of silver for a top-tier doctor. Even though he scored some coins from that rival gang, he knows he needs a solid hustle that prints money non-stop. Snapping back to the present, the kid starts the chat by mentioning he heard from the youngest about how much she loves books. Inwa confirms she just skims through some stories to pass the time in bed. So the boy hands over what he was carrying, passing her the thick book. He explains he wrote it based on all the street rumors he used to hear. The mom takes the book completely amazed, thinking it's awesome that a kid wrote a whole story by himself. The hero flashes that cocky genius smile, eagerly waiting for his first customer's review. With care, the mom opens the book and immediately dives into the pages. With a jump, her eyes go wide, getting completely hooked by the plot from the very first lines. She calls his name looking kinda shocked, but the boy just tells her to chill and keep reading. After a long session of silent reading, the boy confidently asks if the story is actually fire. Closing the final page, the woman takes a deep breath to process everything she just read. Inwa's face lights up with pure joy, hugging the book tight with so much love. She promises the plot is just incredible, making the kid author super happy with the props. Admitting she got so invested she couldn't even put it down, the woman asks how he came up with such an addicting storyline. The kid lets out a little laugh, hiding the fact that he didn't just mash up some rumors, but actually shamelessly copied a massive blockbuster hit from the future. In his past life, the only bit of fun the wandering fighter had was reading cheap novels he found on the road. Since he was a hardcore fan of adventure and hero stories, he reread his favorites so many times he memorized the actual masterpiece word for word. Silently thanking the creators from the future, the kid cuts to the chase and asks if the novel would pull in good money. Knowing absolutely nothing about business, the girl asks why he suddenly cares about profits out of nowhere. Moving forward with his master plan to get rich, the MC heads back into the library, ready for the next phase. A super sly smile hits the boy's face, proving he already knows exactly who to hit up. The kid asks for a letter to be rushed to the owner of a famous antique shop, and in no time, a carriage rolls up near the mansion. The horse's hooves stop hard right at the mansion's door, answering the urgent message. Fixing her own clothes, the secret VIP steps onto the dirt, ready to see who summoned her here. A classy lady wearing glasses adjusts her straw hat, excitedly asking if this is the Bake Mansion. Standing right in front of the estate's massive entrance, the out-of-towner gets ready to make a killer first impression. Taking a huge breath of air, she winds up to yell at the top of her lungs. The visitor shouts that she's arrived, calling for a specific fake author name, and swearing she got there as fast as humanly possible. Disappointed by the lack of a welcome squad, she complains, demanding the famous writer pop out right now to greet her properly. One of the estate's servants walks to the door sweating, politely asking who the lady is looking for with all that racket. She stands her ground on that weird name, explaining she crossed the entire county just for the urgent letter the master sent. The servant is totally lost, claiming there isn't a single person with that bizarre name living there. While the chaos unfolds down below, The two boys watch everything hidden behind a high wall. The younger one spots the drama, claiming the old lady must be crazy. But the hero celebrates that his golden ticket to getting rich has arrived. Staring at his older brother super suspiciously, the youngest asks if the new kid got into trouble again, only getting a trash excuse back. Annoyed by the lie, the kid rubs it in that the house hasn't had one single day of peace since the ex-hobo showed up. Kicking off the list of crazy stuff, he mentions how on day one the kid robbed silver from the most dangerous thug in the area like it was nothing. Right after, the new kid flexed a level of martial arts power that made 0 sense for his age, without ever training seriously before. And to top it off, he robbed the rival crime ring, dragging suspicious loot into the house, while Hui tries to defend himself, saying he just redistributed illegal funds. Wrapping up the crazy list, the brat uncovers the book thing and accuses his older brother of being a 1,000-year-old demon trapped in a kid's body. The color instantly drains from the hero's face, sweating bullets that he got exposed so accurately. Trying to stay cool, the boy lets out a nervous laugh, treating the idea like nonsense, but secretly admits the little punk has god-tier instincts. The youngest looks away looking kinda shy, admitting that at first, he absolutely hated the idea of getting an adopted brother with all his energy. After all, in his mind, the patriarch had 0 reason to adopt someone else when he already had a biological kid under the same roof. Fighting his childhood insecurities, the young heir thought he'd get cut off from all the love and care, building up a massive hatred for the new guy. The fear of being replaced in his own house was so huge that accepting the stranger felt like the end of the world to him. But the boy's face softens as he confesses he quickly saw the new brother's true character, shattering all his toxic prejudices. Spending mornings sweating it out training in the yard, they built a real bond through the brutal grind of martial arts practice. Unable to handle the hardcore workout, the youngest would gasp for air, begging for a time out. Finally respecting the older one's authority, happy with the progress, Hui would call it a day and order the boy to rest, making the little hair collapse from pure exhaustion instantly. The burnout was so real that the kid's only goal was to shower fast and crash in bed until the next day. But one night, a rhythmic noise coming from the yard caught the youngest's attention. Peeking carefully through the door, the boy caught the hero grinding non-stop under the dim moonlight. The MC was throwing relentless, violent strikes with the wooden sword, keeping a fierce look in his eyes even though he was completely drenched in sweat. Watching that unbelievable hustle from a distance, the kid was blown away, noticing the brother kept breaking his limits by slapping extra weights on his body. Giving up on spying all night, the youngest decided to crash, figuring his big bro would tap out from sheer exhaustion soon enough. Morning breaks quietly, revealing the beautiful scenery wrapping around the area. Stretching out in the middle of the ring, the hero takes a deep breath, stoked about the awesome sleep he got, and decides to do a muscle warm-up before hitting his daily tasks. At the same time, the young heir slides his bedroom door open, still a little groggy, trying to see what's going on outside. Looking at the massive yard, the boy spots that someone is already up and at it way before him. The kid gets hit with a massive shock, seeing his older brother already swinging a real-life steel blade at the crack of dawn. Mind blown by the scene, Hainso wonders if the new guy pulled an all-nighter training and notices he packed even more weights onto his frame. Hui's face shows insane focus and an unbreakable drive locked onto his goal. With an incredibly heavy and lightning-fast move, the MC drops an overhead strike that slices the wind with a glowing blue aura. Holding perfect form, he keeps up the combo strikes without showing a single drop of struggle with the real sword's weight. His control over the blade is absolute, pushing out a crushing pressure into the area with every swing. Finishing the combo, the kid spins the weapon like a master, letting the built-up energy fade out completely naturally. The little brother freezes in total awe, confirming his older brother just perfectly nailed all 3 stances of the Geichian technique, their dad's signature move. Noticing the kid nearby, the reincarnated hero turns around chill as ever, asking why he's up so early. Absolutely shook by that insane flex of power, the heir lets his training sword slip right out of his hands and hit the dirt. Hyping up the kid's drive to train at dawn, the older brother holds out a hand, promising to help him run through the techniques. The morning sun lights them both up, while the whole competitive rivalry vibe finally vanishes from the training ring. Giving in to the respect that just bloomed, the boy grabs his brother's hand, locking in a brand new chapter for them. The ex-drifter promises the kid will master those moves in no time if he mimics his form, getting the youngest hyped to start lesson 1. It was exactly in that bonding moment that the hare truly understood what it meant to have a big bro looking out for him. Snapping back to the present behind the wall, the boy admits that lately, he's been wanting to tell everyone how much he idolizes his new brother. With his chest puffed out, Hyun so declares shamelessly that he has the absolute best and most loyal older brother ever. Hearing that totally genuine confession catches the hero off guard, warming his heart in a really weird way. Reading the room, the veteran fighter realizes how the problem child started calling him brother. Supernaturally, that character arc is amazing, considering in the past life the rebel brat never accepted him and always treated him like street trash. Hit by a wave of brotherly love, the MC messes up the youngest's hair playfully, getting a funny grumble out of the kid. To pay back the attitude adjustment, he swears he'll rack up way more cash to buy the kid more awesome food soon. Flashing a bright smile, the hero invites the kid to walk with him again, thinking to himself about how lovable the brat actually became. The young hare gets totally flustered by the sudden shower of affection, turning bright red and completely losing his words. The dynamic duo keeps having a blast around the corner, while the loud guest is still waiting at the main gate. Running on zero patience, the woman starts yelling at the entrance again, demanding to know where this so-called master of words is. A little while later, the mess gets sorted out and the mystery guest is finally invited inside the massive estate. Already sitting down, she formally introduces herself as Chu Yong-wol, explaining she booked it over here the second she got the letter at her shop. Sitting face to face with the boy, the merchant apologizes for the crazy scene earlier, instantly scoring a pass from the man of the house. Checking out the kid in front of her, the bookstore owner flashes a curious smile, trying to figure out what the deal is. Being totally real, the lady admits she's absolutely fascinated to find out the real author is an 8-year-old boy. She explains that, judging by how deep the story was, she was 100% sure the writer was some seasoned guy pushing 40. Inside his head, the old drifter gives the merchant props for her insane instincts, admitting that if you add his past life's age, the math checks out perfectly. Ignoring the surprises, Chu says that when it comes to business deals, age and gender don't matter, asking what his actual game plan was by sending that story to her shop. Staring at the thick book on the table, the merchant makes it clear she highly doubts the goal was just to provide some simple entertainment. The calculating kid loves how straightforward the lady is and promises he isn't going to waste time beating around the bush either. Cutting straight to the point, the kid announces he plans to sell his masterpiece exclusively through her store. The merchant adjusts her glasses without looking shocked, stating she already expected that kind of pitch from the little genius. But she gets a little stricter, warning that the kid still doesn't get how things work, because a story doesn't print cash just by being good. The seller drops some knowledge, explaining that fun stories are usually told by speakers at tea houses, and almost nobody drops silver to buy the actual physical book. Because of that rock-solid tradition, the shop owner declares it's extremely tough to put a real market price on that exclusive manuscript. With a totally confident smirk, the kid fires back, guaranteeing people will drop heavy bags of silver just to have the exclusive flex of reading it themselves. The hero has this unbreakable confidence because he's got spoilers from the future, knowing that once the story drops, word of mouth is going to trigger massive hype. Shook by how confident he sounds, the dealer taps the table, praising the kid's insane guts. She asks if the boy really believes people will throw hands to buy the physical copies, and he just hits back asking if she didn't just read the whole thing herself. Playing his ultimate trump card, the reincarnated kid casually drops that he's got over 100 more story ideas, just as fire locked in his brain. That bombshell hits the merchant hard, making her eyes go wide, completely stunned by that unreal number. A winning smirk pops up on the little writer's face, noticing the dealer stepped right into his trap. In a frantic move, the woman lunges across the table and grabs the kid in a burst of pure greed. The seller's eyes practically shoot sparks of ambition, already seeing an infinite money glitch right in front of her. Squeezing the boy's tiny hands tight, she proves she has zero intention of letting this goldmine walk away. Begging with way too much energy, Chu demands the little writer sign with her shop right now, and promises she will never do him dirty. Overflowing with business hype, she claims her old money merchant instincts never miss, and they're going to build a ridiculous amount of wealth together. Completely weirded out by this desperate display for cash, Wee stammers, begging the lady to let go of his hands. The lady lets out a loud, obnoxious laugh, not caring at all about how awkward it is, while the kid realizes this is his business partner's true greedy nature. The humble outside of the Baixio Merchant Guild hides the massive power the future has in store for the business. Right now, the spot is just a basic bookstore. But in less than 10 years, this brand is going to run the whole country as a completely busted mega corporation. And the main mastermind responsible for pumping the business to that insane level is exactly the quirky Chu Yong-wol. Staring right at the future billionaire, the ex-drifter knows for a fact that the rumors about her flawless money-making radar are spot on. The boy has zero doubts that his stolen manuscripts from the future are going to pull in a ridiculous bag if they land in the right hands. Getting a serious face again, the dealer admits she only made the trip because she needed to see in person what kind of guy the anonymous writer was. She asks if she passed the kid's vibe check, since on her end, the projections were absolutely smashed. The lady guarantees with total confidence that the kid's talent is going to break the spoken word tradition and completely shift the entire market meta. Doing the math on the deal, the little boss offers to give up 40% of the total profits in exchange for exclusive selling rights at her shop. With the deal locked in instantly, the young genius suggests a bonus strat, recommending they track all the physical copies and save 10 signed editions per batch. The game plan is to sell those signed copies only to the first 10 buyers, creating extreme hype for a super rare limited run. Chu loves the strat and suggests decking out those books with gold threads to charge a crazy premium, but then realizes the production costs would be way too heavy to handle right now. The merchant sits back in her chair, getting comfortable and starting to run the numbers on how to scrape together the funds for this risky play. And right then is when the boy pulls his sickest move, asking what she'd say if he directly invested 4,000 silver coins into the shop. Dropping that insane flex makes the lady totally lose her mind, almost dropping her glasses in an explosion of shock and pure disbelief. Absolutely mind blown by the millionaire offer, the shop owner loses all chill and wraps the boy in a super tight bear hug. She tries to steal a kiss on the cheek by any means necessary, leaving him terrified and struggling to break free. With his face covered in lipstick and his hair all messed up, the MC gasps for air while the old butler watches from afar, totally clueless about what's going on. The merchant dips out full of hype, swearing to come back with great news. But the boy just orders her to get out of his sight as fast as humanly possible. Fixing his ruined clothes, he sarcastically notes that in the business world, dropping stacks of cash instantly turns any kid into an absolute legend. Pumped about the chance to rake in the dough, the former drifter plans to crank out a few more books to send over to his partner. Out on the street, the future mogul walks with total confidence, promising she'll be eagerly waiting for her business partner's next drops. The butler walks back with the little lord, pointing out they need to hurry back inside. Watching the lady leave, the hero admits her drive to close deals is honestly built different. Knowing how massively successful that shop is going to be, the kid admits he's even more hyped about this team up than he originally thought. Breaking the silence on the walk back, the old man asks how much cash the little lord managed to milk this time, considering how scary the lady's vibe was. The boy gets totally thrown off by the random question, not quite getting the servant's train of thought. Explaining his theory, the butler recalls how days ago the kid blackmailed a dangerous gang and guesses that this time, he shook down the shop owner to clear the house's piled-up debts. Realizing how bad that innocent suspicion sounds, the reincarnated kid defends himself, saying he did plan to use the money to help, but hearing it put like that made him feel like a professional scammer. Despite the funny misunderstanding, he flashes a warm smile, actually enjoying seeing this more laid-back side of the old servant. Hyped about the cash, the butler suggests dumping it all into buying delicious food so the younger siblings can feast. A few days after that chill walk, a massive, scarred hand rests on a knee, waiting for some answers. The giant Guek glares at the kid with pure fury, demanding to know why he ghosted for so long after swearing he'd fix the situation with his crush. Sweating cold under that insane pressure, the kid listens to the thug threaten to straight up cancel him if it all turned out to be Cap. The gang commander's patience had finally snapped, leading to an instant kidnapping right into the middle of a remote bamboo forest. About an hour before all this chaos kicked off, everything was super peaceful on the Bake family's huge estate. The rough training tools were just sitting quietly, waiting for another brutal conditioning routine to start. Carrying 2 rocks tied to ropes, young Han so was shaking uncontrollably, fighting for his life to hold his defensive stance. The physical toll was so crazy for a kid that his legs could barely stay planted in the dirt. With his face covered in tears from the sheer agony, the kid screams for his older brother, begging to be saved. Unable to handle the punishment, he whines, asking how much longer he has to hold up those rocks. Playing the strict drill sergeant, Hui snaps a twig in his hand and demands his little bro fix his posture right that second. Never breaking character as the teacher, our hero breaks down how their family's martial arts style is all about balancing the body's vibes. Completely wiped out and totally lost by the technical mumbo-jumbo, the pint-sized hair just stares into the void. Noticing the kid glitching out, the older brother breaks it down. Today's pain is tomorrow's gain, officially banning any skipped practices. The little bro complains that he still doesn't get a single thing, and that he's completely roasted. After praising the kid's hustle, Hui authorizes a time out, while the youngest sister celebrates with pure relief that the hair survived the hardcore boot camp. Seeing the kid sprawled on the floor, the former drifter smiles with pride, realizing the boy didn't even try to cheese his way out of the trial. Figuring he also deserves a brother, the reincarnated guy sits down, finally feeling the true weight of his exhaustion. The worried little Yayan asks if he's worn out, but Hien so replies that his older brother is an absolute machine. Looking at his hands, the MC gets bummed out. He's got big brain knowledge, but is trapped in a kid's body with zero juice to actually use the moves. Suddenly, someone violently yanks him backward by his collar with zero warning. After the massive jump scare, the kid bitterly notes that his current agility is absolute trash compared to his past life. A menacing silhouette blocks his view, flexing a totally shredded chest covered in battle scars. Faced with the absolute unit that is Gu Ake, the boy freezes, doing the math on just how doomed he is. He quickly reads the room and figures he'll have to talk his way out of getting squashed. Pointing at the intruder's physique, the boy deflects and starts hyping up the meathead's massive gains. This random vibe shift leaves the crime boss totally baffled and rebooting. Dripping with charisma, the kid stands up and greets the giant like they're old gaming buddies, instantly cutting the act. The criminal says he hates drawing attention and flexes that he hopped the wall to break in. Looking around the empty yard, Goek roasts the martial clan's security, calling it a total joke. Inspecting the dropped weights, the big guy laughs off their workout routine as literal child's play. Keeping it real, the intruder states those techniques are just beginner tutorials and would never get anyone to the top of the martial arts leaderboards. The reincarnated guy silently agrees, having flashbacks to his past life when he had to carry the clan's martial arts all by himself. Flexing his own talent, he invented a brand new, insanely overpowered cultivation method. But the big sad hits him when he remembers the manor was already in ruins by the time he came back with the perfect technique. Clenching his fist tight, the fighter feels the fury of the past bubbling in his veins. Locking in on the present, he promises himself that this time, he's rewriting the script. Before he can overthink, a heavy, glowing red aura starts rolling off the meathead, demanding his full attention. With zero patience for stalling, the bad guy grabs the kid by his clothes, hitting him with a, "Shut up and follow me." The MC starts panicking, trying to figure out where he's being dragged with so much aggro. With an epic leap, the giant carries the kid off the property, totally ignoring his complaints. The little sister points at the sky, completely amazed, thinking her brother just unlocked the ability to fly. Freaking out over the absurd situation, Hien so yells at his sister to go snitch to their dad about the kidnapping. Dangling in the air and dizzy, Hui wonders what in the heck is even happening. Far from home base, the duo ends up chilling in a secluded courtyard hidden in a bamboo forest. Guek lets him know this is his private VIP zone, guaranteeing no one will eavesdrop on their chat. Recognizing the spot, the kid notices they're right by the restaurant they hit up a few days ago. Weirded out by the kid's chill vibe, the meathead points out that any normal boy would be crying buckets after a flight like that. Turning on the charm, the little manipulator claims he totally trusted his big bro's strength to not drop him. When they finally address the elephant in the room, the vibe gets incredibly heavy. The giant cashes in on an old promise, reminding the kid he vanished after swearing he'd make his crush his official wife. Stomping his foot, the criminal demands the patch notes for this crazy master plan. Trying to cool the aggro, Hui asks the dude to drop the scary glare, since they're literally teaming up for his girl's well-being. Hearing the kid call the woman big sister, with so much familiarity, completely melts the guy's hostile buff. Joking around, the kid argues that if she's his big bro's girl, she's basically his sister-in-law by default. Putting on his best calculating face, the hero starts plotting his mental chess moves. He knows for a fact this woman is the warrior's only soft spot and the ultimate trigger for a future disaster. In his past run, the gang boss ruthlessly took her out of the picture, sparking a brutal rebellion led by Gyu-ak. With absolute heart eyes, the meathead admits that even though she's a former courtesan, she has the purest soul, and he just wants to vibe by her side. The big guy adds that his dad is forcing him to marry a noble and banned concubines, confessing he can't stand seeing her suffer, but literally can't live without her. Holding his head in pure stress, the crime boss admits he can't just speedrun a boss fight against the patriarch and is totally stuck. Right then, the kid calmly taps the giant's knee to snap him out of it. The pint-sized tactician realizes the bad guy's devotion to this woman is 100% real. Looking ahead, the boy remembers it was this exact heartbreak that made the big guy snap after his girl passed away. However, the MC knows the gang's downfall back then wasn't just caused by a broken heart. Behind the scenes of that tragedy, an even more dangerous boss was pulling the strings. This mystery guy was the courtesan's biological dad, basically the server's most wanted public enemy in the martial world. Full of confidence, the boy tells his new duo partner to chill, claiming he has the ultimate strat to find this guy before he makes a move. Soon enough, the campaign launches in the busy city streets. Clickbait posters featuring a sketch of a woman and a dramatic plea start popping up on the walls. The fresh drama quickly grabs the attention of everyone at the market. Two guys walk up, super curious about the massive crowd. Reading the flyer, one of them roasts the audacity of a pavilion girl, trying to track down her family. His buddy tells him to zip it and tread lightly, pointing out she's not just some random NPC. The guy explains she's a legit artist, pulling in even more people for the tea. Hyped up, he clarifies the girl makes her coins strictly through her music, nothing else. Acting like a dramatic storyteller, the dude announces the girl is desperately searching for her lost dad. Hitting them with a flashback, he reveals the whole mess went down at the Lantern Festival. Back in the day, the little girl was just happily walking, holding her dad's hand. But the universe was brutal and ripped them apart out of nowhere. Mesmerized by a butterfly lantern, the kid got distracted and let go of her dad's hand. Pure panic took over the man's face when he realized his kid had despawned. That glowing butterfly was her last happy memory, before getting swallowed by the crowd. Wandering solo, she spammed calls for her dad until she lost her voice, but never found her way home. Now all grown up, she's dealing with major homesickness, begging for a reunion. The drawing on the poster just cranks up the emotional damage of this abandonment arc. Completely in their feelings, a bunch of ladies start crying over the girl's bad luck. An old man literally loses it and starts bawling his eyes out in public. Seeing the boomer cry, a dude in a hat tries to hype him up, guaranteeing the reunion is bound to happen. The storyteller clears his throat for dramatic effect and drops the final clue. Pointing at the sketch, he explains the dad left behind a jade token as proof of their connection. The crowd gets totally hyped and promises to share the post everywhere. Watching from a distance, the reincarnated kid does a mental victory dance over the viral reaction. Walking through the mob, he calculates that the gossip will spread like wildfire until their target shows up. With his ego maxed out, the mastermind flexes about directing such a flawless tearjerker. He's already visualizing the cinematic family reunion 20 years in the making. Arriving at the meetup spot, the MC enthusiastically flags down his sister-in-law. The young woman wipes her tears, totally shaken by the lore she just heard. Blindsided, she asks if all that intense drama was actually about her own life. She admits she doesn't even remember the separation since she grew up in the brothel grinding her music skills. Pulling out the green jade, she completely ruins the cinematic vibe by saying she got it from some random customer. Quick on his feet, the kid says the audience eats up drama, so he just buffed the truth a bit for maximum engagement. The chat pauses when the big guy rolls up with the snack she asked for. Super happy with the loot, the girl says thanks while the hero just third wheels and observes. Scanning the kid from head to toe, the criminal looks incredibly suspicious of the whole setup. The meathead brings up the posters and actually praises the kid's insane talent for crafting fanfiction. Munching on his snack, the hero tells him to chill, but his partner demands a return on investment for the cash spent on the gossip campaign. Unbothered, the tactician just tells him to hold his horses until the real dad spawns. The bad guy goes quiet, proving his only real priority is his girl. Respecting the hustle, the leader mutters to himself, wondering why he always falls for this kid's high-tier charisma. Ignoring the complaining, the boy drops an invite for the young woman to crash at Bake Manor. Caught off guard, she listens to his excuse that a safe zone will keep scammers from pretending to be her dad. Gyu-ek instantly spots the cap, realizing the offer is actually to shield her from his own toxic mob boss dad. Knowing the stakes, the big guy signs off on it and tells her to accept the invite. Trusting her duo partner, the girl accepts the deal, finally feeling secure. Night drops, and the massive Bake estate is glowing under the moonlight. The green jade sits on the desk, shining in the dark room. With his arms crossed, the young master reviews the VOD of everything that just went down. Running the numbers, he figures the former courtesan has zero clue about the item's true rarity tier. Inspecting the loot, the former drifter realizes the stone holds internal energy, acting like a legit warding talisman. He replays her story about scoring it from a customer while doing chores. Back then, some mysterious old dude handed her the gem and made her swear to keep it equipped at all times. The eye patch guy was super intense about it, strictly banning her from putting it on the marketplace. Thinking it was just a weird flex, the kid kept the rock just because it looked aesthetic. Reading between the lines, the warrior connects the dots. He knows she just kept it on out of habit, thinking it was a basic, zero-stat accessory. But the hero is 100% sure nobody drops a high-energy artifact on a cleaning lady without a massive reason. The boy's face shifts as he realizes the customer was literally her dad camping out to watch over her. Suddenly, the tactician's radar pings toward the open window. Totally chill, he senses a familiar aggro radius approaching in the dark. Outside, heavy footsteps are stomping across the estate's roof. Under the moon, the bamboo hat guy pulls up, officially revealing himself as the server's most wanted. Gripping the amulet, the MC stands up to welcome his uninvited guest. Dripping with confidence, the kid readies up to face his new roommate's terrifying dad. The public enemy strikes a boss-level pose under the moonlight. Up on the roof, the two of them have a major cinematic standoff. The kid breaks the ice, sarcastically joking that the boomer must really love the full moon. Hearing the roast, the intruder shoots the boy an absolute death glare. Showing zero fear, the pint-sized master keeps his posture loose and unbothered. Chuckling, the old guy claps back that seniors just don't need to sleep as much. The tone flips real quick as the man demands to know why a kid is up past his bedtime. Smooth as butter, the reincarnated guy drops the reason for the meetup. Flashing the jade, he claims the rock's RGB glow was keeping him awake. Just to avoid catching hands, the young guy clarifies he borrowed the item with full permission. The MC drops his official title, introducing himself as the adopted son of the Bake family. Full of attitude, he bets the intruder already had his IP address and addresses him by his infamous criminal tag. The master of disguise goes dead silent, totally shook by the brat's sheer audacity. Curious, the intruder asks how he got the intel, but the kid deflects, hinting he has access to way more spoilers. Calculating his next move, the former drifter gets ready to drop the man's entire tragic backstory. The lore drop reveals the old guy used to craft relics before resetting his stats into martial arts. But that exact skill ended up griefing his entire life. 20 years ago, the family's vibe was completely different and wholesome. Back in the day, his little girl used to watch him craft like it was magic. His wife was his biggest hype woman, always gassing up his skills. They lived a super chill life running a humble antique shop. With his squad together, the guy was living the dream, until one random day, somebody aggressively slammed his crafting table. A rough-looking dude interrupted his grind to challenge the artisan's skills. It turned out to be a faction ordering a perfect replica of a fake treasure map. Totally missing the red flags, the dad took the commission and delivered a flawless counterfeit. He grinded hard to make sure the map looked exactly like the original drop. The faction then used the map to bait a bunch of righteous players into a massive trap. Tons of heroes fell for the scam, chasing high-tier loot. Once they hit the coordinates, the warriors got brutally ganked. Caught off guard, entire family clan members were wiped out. The server-wide event went down in history as the Sword King's Tom bloodbath. The truth eventually leaked out, bringing massive ban waves and consequences. The artisan went on the run, carrying the guilt of crafting the cursed item. He had to dodge the wrath of a noble family that lost their top-tier heirs. Tagged as public enemy number 1. He lost his wife and got separated from his kid in all the chaos. Crushed by guilt, the dad basically deleted his account and vanished. The only starter item he managed to leave for his daughter was the protection amulet. In the MC's past playthrough, the bad ending was way worse, with the girl getting taken out by the cult leader. But the tactician swears on his life that in this new game plus, the ending is getting fixed. Boldly, the boy promises to reunite the squad if the old man agrees to be the Bake family's secret carry. Blindsided, the intruder tells the kid to keep talking. The wind howls on the roof as the heavy tension finally starts to drop. Shooting straight, the boy reveals he knows all about the girl's romance, and that the mob boss is totally against it. The young guy drops the bomb that the toxic patriarch is already plotting to eliminate the girl. This spoiler completely rocks the master of disguises. Furious, the old man asks if they're really trying to hurt his kid. Ice cold, the boy makes it worse by revealing she's already taking tick damage from the villain's poison. The boss had been slipping toxins into her daily potions. Raging, the dad realizes the strategy was to drain her HP slowly. Going full dark mode, the intruder tells the kid to watch his mouth. The boomer accuses the boy of using her as bait to blackmail him. Flexing a massive red aura, the artisan demands to know what the kid's actual endgame is. The crushing pressure tries to force the boy into a fierce stun, but the MC just smiles calmly, completely immune to the intimidation check. Stepping up, he grabs the old guy's attention with total respect. With a heavy flex, he instantly cancels out the room's energy, avoiding any friendly fire. The intruder is absolutely floored watching a literal child dispel his pressure like it was nothing. The MC declares his only goal is securing the couple's happy ending with her dad's official stamp of approval. Sweeting buckets, the most wanted man questions what level this kid is actually at. Still shook, he tries to calculate if the boy can actually deliver on this massive promise. Chuckling awkwardly, the artisan admits he's way too old to be dealing with this many plot twists. Accepting the quest, he tosses his morals aside and demands the patch notes for the plan. With a trollish grin, the tactician says he's going to manipulate the gangs into deleting each other. To pull off the strat, the young guy warns he's going to need the old man's crafting skills. The next day, the strategy starts paying out at the criminal base. Getting the debrief, the big guy absolutely panics when he hears his girl was poisoned. The leader charges forward, ready to crash out on the culprit, but the kid cools him down, confirming her HP is fully restored. The hero points out the poison was planted way back, totally exposing the imposter. Feeling the backstab, the giant instantly realizes who set up the trap. Grinding his teeth, the villain can't fathom why his own dad would try to take out his wife. The reincarnated guy explains the boomer just wanted to clear the lane for a high-profit political marriage. Dropping the jokes, the boy says the good son era is over and demands he step up. Cornering him, the MC forces his duo partner to pick a lane appeal for his girl or stay a simp for the faction. The weight crashes down on the criminal, who clenches his fists, ready to start a riot. The tactician reminds him that to the faction, he's nothing but a disposable tool. The image of his woman fills the villain's head, and he admits he'd instantly log out of life without her. Locked in goo, swears to act as her ultimate meat shield no matter what. He doubles down, saying his playthrough is pointless without her. Clenching his fist, the criminal makes his final choice. He screams to the heavens that he'll tank every single hit meant for his girl. The boy notices the rebellion arc has officially started in his ally's heart. Satisfied, the former drifter celebrates that his partner finally chose the romance route. The young guy realizes the courtesan's pure vibes literally cleans the meathead's toxic traits. Knowing that just rage, quitting the gang won't fix it, the MC decides to stir the pot even more. Keeping it 100, he asks if the faction would really let them chill, or if they'd be dodging bounty hunters forever. Hitting him with a reality check, he asks how long her stamina bar could even handle an endless chase. Furious, the gang leader grabs the kid, telling him to stop spamming nightmare scenarios. Out of patience, the big guy demands the game plan, finally respecting the kid's dangerously high IQ. Switting from the aggro, he asks him to chill, noting how insanely sweaty his partner gets whenever they bring up his girl. Cocky as ever, the boy claims he'll make the gangs wipe each other out while they AFK. Hooked, the giant wants to know how the glitch works. The young guy reveals he's going to drop a fake martial arts manual right in the enemy base. A second later, a minion is sprinting through the enemy base having a full meltdown looking for the boss. The leader of the Cheongsa gang wakes up completely triggered by the noise. Out of breath, the guy hands over a busted old book, claiming it's the ultimate counter strat against the Honjo faction. The boss's eyes pop out of his skull, totally mind blown by the drop. Scanning the patch notes, he realizes the stats are 100% legit. Hype beyond belief, he interrogates the minion on where he farms such god-tier loot. The guy reports that some mystery grandmaster gifted it, asking for nothing but pure revenge. Thinking the RNG gods blessed him, the leader orders his crew to copy and spam the manual everywhere. Drunk on greed, he declares it's time to permanently wipe the rivals from the server. Night falls, and the beef between the factions hits maximum overdrive. Heavy footsteps shatter the silence, signaling a massive incoming raid. Armed with the new meta, the Cheongsa gang blitzes their rivals with a surprise attack. Even with the numbers advantage, the Hongyo faction's outdated strats immediately drag them down. The invaders push aggressively, completely shattering the enemy's front line. The sound of clashing steel echoes, showcasing just how broken the ambush is. Used to catching easy U's, the defenders start panicking as every single combo gets perfectly parried. An invader emotes over a downed enemy, proving the manual is absolutely pay to win. Exploiting every weakness, the attackers snowball the team fight in record time. Total chaos takes over, making it impossible to hold the point. Out on the streets, the NPCs have all their doors bolted shut. Terrified, the locals dodge the outside world entirely during the gang war event. Watching from a safe distance, the mastermind smiles as his scheme hits the point of no return. Stressed out, Patriarch Bake puts the area on lockdown, banning the kids from going outside. The dad gives a direct warning to his adopted son, who just smiles like a total angel and nods. The second he turns around, the kid snickers to himself, acting like he didn't just crash the entire server. Later on, he overhears some scholars gossiping about how the invading gang has the others boxed in. The boy struts by, mentally celebrating his flawless trap while soaking up the rumors about the hidden master. Back at the losing gang's HQ, the admins are losing their minds trying to find a patch. Super chill. The former drifter deduces the enemies are malding because their source code leaked. The truth is, he mapped out all their hitboxes during his past life when he farmed these exact same mobs. Teaming up with the old crafter, he forged the item just to bait the enemy into initiating Phase 1. Switching gears, the kid casually pitches the idea of his dad third, partying the war to secure some easy loot. Surprised, the dad asks how they could even pull off a stunt like that. The strat turns the mainer into a high-risk mediator, while the camera cuts back to the pavilion raid. Mid-fight, a cornered faction member eats a massive critical hit. The attackers laugh at their rivals' desperation, totally flaming their outdated movesets. Drunk on ego, the invading leader trash-talks the losers, asking if they finally recognize who the top dogs are. Seething with rage, the victims spam insults, desperately trying to rally. Sweating bullets, the cornered warrior has a full panic attack as every single attack he throws gets blocked. Completely lost, he's just trying to survive the disrespect. Showing zero chill, the invader lunges in for the finisher. But out of nowhere, another weapon spawns in, perfectly parrying the strike. The massive Gyuek steps up to the front line, batting away the enemy blade like it's a toy. The attacker jumps back spooked, cursing the random third party. On the ground, the beaten faction member recognizes the VIP and feels a wave of relief. Going feral, the Method demands to know why the invaders have the audacity to crash his zone. Seeing red, he threatens to wipe their entire squad if they cause any lag for the VIP he's escorting. Hit by his oppressive aura, the enemies start shaking, realizing they just pulled aggro from a raid boss. But one minion finds his spine, claiming raw stats don't matter if the attack patterns are predictable. Putting all their faith in the broken manual, the mob challenges the hero to a 1v1. The big guy starts feeling the pressure of the bad matchup, until a calm, childish voice calls out to him. Loading into the scene, the reincarnated kid smirks, radiating absolute confidence. The thugs threaten to not go easy on a kid, but the boy trolls them, saying they should chill because he's the one about to go easy on them. Smiling, the tactician drops the bomb that the invaders are operating on totally fake news. Fast as lightning, he tosses a brand new patch book to his giant ally. Gripping the relic, the crime boss realizes this is ultra rare tier loot. The former drifter announces this is the promised lore, instantly locking the thugs. To shatter the tension, the young guy broadcasts that this specific book is the hard counter to the Cheongsa gang's entire meta. He calls the shot, declaring it's the exact moment to pull off the ultimate Uno reverse card. The invading leader's brain blue screens at the massive plot twist. A minion starts freaking out, asking if the kid actually got his hands on their source code. Furious, the boss accuses the brat of capping, but gets hit with the reality that copies are already flooding the streets. Owning the lobby, the kid confirms the leak with maximum sarcasm and zero stress. He handed the cheat codes over to the old master, who spammed the manuals across the entire map. Clutching his own manual, the invading leader starts cold, sweating as he processes the team wipe. Desperately trying to hold it together, He slaps on a super arrogant smirk. The thug argues the W belongs to whoever has better ping, and a hiker ranker like him wouldn't lose to lag. He trashes his own book and challenges the giant to run the ones. Tired of the yapping, Gyuik steps up, promising to return all the disrespect with interest. Watching the behemoth push forward, the enemy goons desperately try to find the courage to not Alt F4. The MC grins watching his chaotic masterclass unfold flawlessly. The narrative confirms the tides have completely flipped thanks to the new buffs. Hyped up, the defending gang members swear they're about to run it back. Flexing a terrifying aura, the kid's partner pushes in, asking who wants to get sent to the lobby first. The rival boss backs up, sweating through his shirt from the pure intimidation check. Absolutely horrified, the minions spam chat asking what they're supposed to do. Throwing gas on the fire, the kid casually suggests they just forfeit, which completely triggers the rival leader. The former drifter decides it's the perfect time to skip to the next phase, since the invaders are totally tilted. Stealing the mech, the tactician asks everyone to chill, claiming he's tired of the PvP. Playing the ultimate pacifist ref, he says he needs to drop a reality check on both squads. Pinging his partner's gang, the boy highlights the brutal stats. He points out the group hasn't even grinded the new technique yet, meaning they completely rely on Gyuik's solo carry to use it right now. Plus, dragging out the fight in a pavilion full of low HP allies would cause permanent team damage. Hearing the logic, the giant nods and tells everyone to lower their weapons. The crime boss falls back, while the boy locks his sights onto the enemies. Pressuring the invaders, he declares their buff has expired and pushing now would mean taking massive damage. The boy asks if they seriously want to keep throwing, but the invader just curses the brat for griefing their raid. The invading boss screams that his faction would never accept a humiliating surrender. The mediator sighs, totally exhausted by the mobster's negative IQ. With ice in his veins, the kid calls the criminal an absolute bot for not seeing the bigger picture. Spelling it out, he reveals the manual has already gone viral across the entire server. He reminds the villain exactly how backstabbing is the meta in this zone. Planting the paranoia seed, the MC asks if the guy seriously thinks they are the only enemies on the map. Panicking, the invader guesses the Gyojin gang also downloaded the manual, and the kid happily confirms it. He explains the third parties are just camping, waiting for them to delete each other, so they can claim the territory for free. Roasting the leader, the young guy states that if a literal child figured this out, the enemies are already firing their trap. In the heavy silence, firm footsteps announce a high-level player entering the zone. A respected voice echoes, suggesting they skip the boss fight and settle it peacefully. The criminals snap their necks in fear, trying to scan the new arrival. Patriarch Bake spawns and looking majestic, instantly recognized by the terrified thugs. The kid thinks it's wild timing, but stays in character and hypes up his dad's clutch arrival. Throwing his weight around, the Lord argues the PvP will just ruin the map and demands both gangs stand down in his name. The Lord puts his family's honor on the line as a safe zone guarantee for both squads. With zero other options, the invading boss sighs and takes the L. Gyuik realizes this 5G brainplay just put both gangs in massive debt to the Bake Manor. Totally lost, the big guy stares at the kid standing next to him. The villain is absolutely mind blown, realizing the boy just used his own dad as a meat shield, and the kid winks to confirm it. Taking the deal, the partner accepts the truce and gets a commendation from the Lord. Right after, the Patriarch demands an answer from the enemy squad. Swallowing his pride, the rival boss ducks his head and accepts the terms of service. Satisfied, the Lord thanks the lobby for not being toxic. Going stern mode, the Master demands the factions stop griefing anywhere near his spawn point in the future. He also makes the thugs swear to keep the casual NPCs out of their messy clan wars. The tactician smirks, knowing his dad's clout was the ultimate cheat code. With the truce locked in, the boy asks his dad to head back first, so he can wrap up some side quests with his partner. Once the rivals log off, the hero turns to the big guy, ready to call it a day. Before he can even speak, the boy gets aggressively yoinked by his tilted partner. Dangling in the air again, the kid has zero clue why his teammate just turned on friendly fire. The ally dumps him on the ground, demanding the patch notes for the next phase of this rigged war. Fixing his fit, the villain admits the only reason he didn't send the enemies to the Shadow Realm was because of the master plan. Exhausted, he points out the counter-attack book is legit and asks if that was also part of the setup. Dead serious, the criminal states a brat couldn't possibly code techniques that complex and demands to know who the real dev is. The former drifter smiles, admitting his duo isn't as brain dead as he thought. The kid gatekeeps his source but promises a meet and greet, dropping a hint that the guy has major lore ties to the meathead. The sun logs out, bathing the pavilion in a light that signals the end of a ridiculously chaotic day. Confused, the behemoth scratches his chin, trying to search his memory banks for this connection. Paranoid, he asks if he's walking into a trap, but the kid swears on everything he just wants to secure the couple's good ending. Demanding some trust, the pint-sized master sarcastically asks if he's ever actually griefed the big guy. Annoyed, the gang leader begrudgingly admits the brat's predictions always hit 100% accuracy. Putting it all together, the behemoth's eyes go wide as he asks if he's just been a pawn this whole time. Playing totally dumb, the tactician smiles and asks what he's even yapping about. The kid roasts his partner's slow processing speed, while the villain tries to save face by claiming it's impossible to get played by a toddler. Raging, the crime boss yells to ask if there's a problem, and the boy hits him with a peaceful nope. Huffing with pure frustration, the big guy decides to focus on the main quest and demands the next objective. Gu's mind buffers back to when the kid ordered the rival gang to grind the new manual. The item in question is a busted old book resting on the desk. Cocky as ever, the tactician explains the manual completely nerfs their own faction's technique. The timeline rewinds a few nights back under a starry skybox. Parkering across the roof, the MC was getting ready to recruit his MVP. A cup of tea and the bootleg manual kick off the late-night trade negotiations. In the dark, the old artisan asks if forcing a server-wide wipe was really the grand plan. Sitting comfortably, the former drifter confirms the boomer's deduction. Hyped, the boy breaks down how they'd first airdrop the Hongio gang's manual to the rivals. That move would buff the enemy's confidence to insane, reckless levels. Riding that high, the invaders would totally send a frontal assault. The kid reveals that right at the climax of the team fight, they'd leak the invaders' counter strats to the streets. As a result, all the lower-tier factions would third-party the war and permanently delete the top dogs. The old master chuckles, finding the toxic matchmaking pretty entertaining. Holding the book, he greenlights the plan but questions if the engine can actually run it. The artisan inspects the counterfeit cover in absolute dead silence. The kid points out that for this glitch to work, the techniques have to be flawless, since even noob players would spot a fake. Shook, the old man asks where the kid managed to download such frame-perfect tech. The pint-sized tactician hits him with the ultimate poker face. A wicked, mysterious smirk takes over the young guy's face in the shadows. The MC drops the bomb that he's the original dev who coded those exact moves. The master of disguises is completely floored, absolutely refusing to believe the cap. Annoyed, the boomer accuses the brat of trolling him with cheap fanfic lore, but the boy doubles down on it being canon. Reading the room, the former drifter realizes he needs the crafter and that keeping up the lie is a bad play. Knowing he needs to build trust, he decides to leak a bit of the truth, fully aware that the Izikai reincarnation plot sounds completely unhinged. Cold sweating, the kid tries to patch together a slightly less insane excuse. Going full theater kid, he throws his arms wide and claims he's a supreme prodigy on his second playthrough. The old guy hits him with a stare of pure, unfiltered, "Are you serious right now?" over the absolute nonsense. An aggressively awkward silence dominates the roof, while they just stare at each other. The wind blows, highlighting how spectacularly the joke just bombed. Desperate, the boy does a nervous laugh, claiming he's just a kid role-playing as a master so he doesn't look like a noob. Ignoring the terrible acting, the old man firmly shuts the manual. Deep in thought, the senior carefully reviews the terms of service. He tells the young guy to tone down the trolling and decides to just ignore the whole prodigy lore. Going serious mode, the man guarantees that once the server resets, the Bake family will flag them as VIP guests. The artisan stands up on the roof, tracked by the kid's gaze. Friendly as ever, the MC notes they'll need burner gamer tags, but the Lord will provide full anti-cheat protection. The boy highlights the ultimate reward, deleting their wanted levels and chilling peacefully with the young woman. The promise completely fills the old man's eyes with pure, unscripted emotion. A vision of a cozy future, just reading next to his daughter, takes over the fugitive's mind. He grieves over being unfairly banned from the server and forced to abandon his little girl. The boy listens to the heavy vent session with max empathy and total silence. Locked in, the boomer swears he'd do literally anything to unlock the dad title again, giving props to the kid's elite speech check skills. Satisfied, a wicked gleam takes over the tactician's features. The kid hypes up the ally's sharp instincts, while the old man asks what the actual grind will be besides forging fake items. Deadly serious, the former drifter demands he pull up and absolutely solo the top boss of the Hangio faction. Going dark, he specifies the old guy needs to wreck the villain completely, but leave him on 1 HP. The boy coldly adds that shattering the criminal patriarch's mana core will be more than enough. Playing the weak NPC, the boomer claims he's just a restorer, but the kid shuts it down, asking how a squishy target survives 20 years of constant aggro. Cornered by straight facts, the master of disguises mysteriously raises his hand, hitting him with a trollish bow. The MC thanks the boomer in advance for the carry. The ally silently processes the absolute nightmare difficulty of the quest he just accepted. With his red eyes glowing, he mutters that the young master seriously loves tossing seniors into high-level boss fights. A few chill days pass after the clan war, signaling the arrival of the massive payout. A chest pops open, revealing 10,000 shiny silver coins. The staff unloads boxes of pure premium currency into the well-lit manor. Shook, the butler asks the young master what they're supposed to do with all this silver. Kicking the door open with main character energy, the kid declares they're buying and buffing up a famous inn. The Hoyong Lodge pops up as the kid's newest side hustle target. Acting like a tech CEO, the reincarnated guy claims that real estate is the ultimate meta investment. The shine of the stacked silver proves that their budget is basically infinite now. Crying tears of joy, the boomer butler admits he hasn't seen this much loot in years. Hyped, the servant celebrates that they can finally clear their debuffs and fix the manor's busted roof. Totally fanboying over the kid, the employee bows, calling the boy a literal RNG miracle. Complaining about the lord's pay, to loose spending habits, the old man tries to hug the boy, who dodges and asks for some personal space. Patriarch Bake clears his throat, announcing his spawn into the living room. The butler freezes, realizing his boss just caught him talking trash about his management skills. Laughing it off to reset the vibe, the dad admits honor is top tier, but the treasury needs a buff too. Pivoting the chat to save the servant, the kid brings up the master plan to buy the inn. Recovering from the scare, the servant backs the play, hyping up the spot's head chef and daily active users. Sharp as attack, the MC sarcastically wonders if the current admin is even ready to sell the business that easily. The tactician asks his dad and the butler to step back and let him handle the trade window. Throwing a thumbs up, the former drifter reveals he's already in the VIP list of the current lodge owner. Skipping the tutorial, the kid ambushes his giant partner right outside the targeted shop. With zero hesitation, he asks if the crime boss would sell the inn for 10,000 coins. The meathead scratches his neck, completely lost by the troll-level request. Confused, he asks if the brat seriously wants to buy the spot. Losing patience, the mobster grabs the kid's head like a basketball. Annoyed, he asks if the boy thinks a high-yield gold farm like this is just a toy. Totally chill, the tactician drops the logic. He wants to put the villain's girl in charge as the new CEO. The 200 IQ pitch wins over the giant instantly, while the kid mentally emotes over his flawless victory. A highly calculated, mischievous look spawns on the reincarnated guy's face. Later on, the sunset puts a cinematic filter over the coveted pavilion. Far away, the criminal HQ features a tacky gold statue. The faction leader screams his lungs out after finding out his son sold the business for cheap. Flaming his hair, the patriarch demands to know if he understands how much passive income that zone generated. Guick tanks the verbal abuse without breaking his posture. Super serious, the subordinate flags his dad's attention. Without blinking, he flashes the ancient book to the leader. The patriarch gets jump, scared the second he recognizes the item. The drop is the ultimate patch note that completely fixes their gang's worst debuffs. When interrogated, the big guy lies straight through his teeth, claiming he bought the relic with the sale money. The boomer buys it hook, line, and sinker, cracking up and hyping his son's big brain play. Proud as ever, the boss says he always knew his boy would finally ghost that old courtesan. Making it worse, he drops some toxic gossip about the girl getting cozy with Lordback, roasting her lack of loyalty. Boiling with rage, the meathead clenches his fist while listening to the absolute cap. Catching the bad vibes, the old man asks what's glitching. The crime boss demands to know why his son is suddenly throwing aggro. Hiding his power level, Guick backs down, claiming his ping is fine and there's no issue. Brushing it off, the patriarch plots to use the book to completely steamroll the server. Faking his support, the young mobster guarantees they'll become the most broken guild in the region. The sun beams down hard over the merchant city. While the underground server is literally on fire, peaceful vibes completely cover the Bake Manor. The family's rep skyrocketed in the zone after they successfully moderated the clan war. The NPCs are walking around stress-free, chatting about how the griefer events are finally over. The shops reopen, bringing the server economy back to life. A humble worker practically begs to drop off a gift basket at the manor's front door. The guy explains he farmed the drops himself and pleads for them to accept the loot. A super emotional boomer gives thanks for the safe zone that literally saved his son's HP. The locals jokingly threaten to riot if the family rejects their tip jar. Scanning the mountain of loot, the butler reports that even more care packages are spawning in. The patriarch understands the donations are just the community's way of giving a 5-star rating. Wise as always, the leader accepts the freebies so he can airdrop them to the low-level players later. Looking at his adopted son, he shoots the kid an invite to join the charity co-op mission. Pumped, the little MC accepts the party invite immediately. While the manor is thriving, the faction territories are getting absolutely glassed in a turf war. The brutal PvP stains the streets during an ultra-violent night phase. The criminals spam attack orders, demanding their capture point be held at all costs. In the middle of the chaos, the indie gangs absolutely steamroll the old top-tier faction. Everyone managed to clap the former server admins because they all downloaded the counter-attack manual. The pages of the relic burn up, signaling the permanent deletion of the crime syndicate. Tilted beyond belief, the grand leader of the main faction reads the declaration of war from the surviving rivals. The minion warns that someone leaked all their martial source codes to trigger this bloodbath. Boiling with pure rage, the patriarch screams he already knows it's a bait setup to take back admin control. He declares they just need to block the push to make the trap fizzle out. Crushing the paper, he celebrates that the old rival squads got wiped from the lobby. Pure malice and extreme greed completely take over the criminal's eyes. Cocky as ever, he swears his gang will solo the entire county. Sprinting through the dark forest, the squad pushes forward to capture the zone. A heavy footstep on the road forces the whole raid party to hit the brakes. The crime boss detects a massive aggro radius completely blocking their lane. Under the moon, the old master of disguises is just camping there in dead silence. The villain's mount stops right in front of the lone wanderer. Keeping his guard up, the criminal patriarch scans the high-tension encounter. With his face hidden by the hat, the artisan announces the scripted boss fight. The horse freaks out while the squad tries to process what kind of NPC this is. A minion yells, demanding to know who has the guts to block their raid. Arrogant as usual, the mobster accuses the random wanderer of totally throwing his life away. Squinting his eyes, the gang boss realizes this boomer isn't just a low-level mob. Unleashing a crushing pressure, the old guy floods the forest with a massive purple aura. An absolutely merciless glare locks onto the face of the former fugitive. Horrified, the villain gets stunned, locked by pure panic once he reads that absurd power level. Staring at the respawn screen, the crime boss spams the order to insta-kill the target. Drawing their weapons, the mob rushes the solo player. Fast as a glitch, the old master dashes forward, literally tearing through the wind. Charging up his mana, he launches an AoE nuke right into the squad. The brutal impact shatters the night's silence with a massive shockwave. Totally defenseless, the minions get yeeted into the skybox, screaming in pain. The strike leaves craters behind, exposing the true raw stats of the server's most wanted. Terrified, the surviving mobs beg their squad leader for a heal. Completely shook, the criminal watches his entire raid get wiped in literal seconds. Sweating bullets, the patriarch realizes he just aggroed a hidden raid boss. With 0 exits, he pushes in, popping his dark energy buff for a desperate clutch. Smoothly, the artisan jumps and perfectly frames the attack, which hits the horse instead. The whiffed attack completely exposes the villain leader's hitboxes. Desperate, the bad guy demands to know which rival guild paid for this carry. Dropping down with a heavy strike, the master coldly states the mobster doesn't need the lore drop. The finisher absolutely shatters the leader's mana core, making him scream in pure agony. A colossal energy explosion signals the end of the forest boss fight. Downed and defeated, the patriarch coughs up blood, completely out of stamina. Shaking from the damage, he suffers the ultimate penalty. His martial stats are permanently set to 0. Absolute panic hijacks the mobster's brain when he realizes he's permanently crowd-controlled. Standing tall, the boomer announces he's sticking to the kid's questline and will spare the criminal's life. The artisan admits he'd love to just send him to the Shadow Realm for his past griefing, but his oath is holding him back. As a permanent ban, the master condemns the bad guy to live paralyzed and full of regret forever. Drowning in humiliation, the villain mumbles toxic trash talk after taking the most colossal L. Ignoring the salt, the wanderer turns his back and despawns into the dark night. Walking away, the boomer thinks warmly about the cozy low-stress life he's about to hand his daughter. The flashbacks of his kid and his wife give a massive HP boost to the old guy's heart. A few days pass since the PvP event that totally wiped the underground server. Back at the manor, the reincarnated kid is munching down his food with a massive, satisfied grin. Across the table, Gu stares at the child, looking insanely triggered. The giant mutters that the kid's fake wholesome vibes are ruining his meal, and the boy hits him back with pure sarcasm. Secretly, the tactician is doing a victory lap over the flawless strat and the old artisan's Oscar-worthy carry. Without their leader, the main faction completely collapsed into a messy free-for-all over admin rights. With their base ruined, the low-tier mob was forced to migrate to a different server. On top of that, the old rival guilds had also been totally wiped from the map. The very last gang just went into stealth mode out of pure terror, marking the official shutdown of the county's underworld. Permanent peace drops back onto every street and market in the zone. The kid is hyped, knowing his family's justice arc is about to become top-tier local lore. Locking onto the next quest, the former drifter equips his trademark calculating glare. The new meta is forcing the meathead to officially join the Righteous Manners Guild. Bluntly, the boy suggests the giant drop his criminal tag and just join the family already. Choking on the sheer audacity, the criminal asks what kind of crazy patch notes the brat is reading. Sticking to his toxic roots, Gu suggests just betraying his own faction brothers to steal the guild leader spot. The dead silence confirms that even the criminal knows that idea is absolute garbage. Shaking his head, the kid makes it crystal clear he is absolutely vetoing that toxic route. The pint-sized master stands his ground, officially banning any strategy that involves taking people out. The ally claps back, chewing his food and asking if the kid just wants to leave the server exactly how it is. A sudden stealth attack completely shatters the chill vibes of their lunch break. A shadow rogue tries to gank them, but the big guy instantly parries and counters the threat. The enemy blade just uselessly sticks into the wooden frame. Annoyed, the meathead complains that the rival players already tracked their IPs to this safe house. The kid explains that no matter how hard the ally tries to play pacifist, the new admins will keep spamming assassins at him. Boiling with rage, the bad guy screams he already declined the guild invite, but the boy points out that greed doesn't care about a no thanks. Boxing him in, the young guy gives him the ultimatum: keep doing hardcore survival PvP on the streets, or upgrade to a protected VIP citizen under the manor. Scratching his neck, the criminal highly doubts a righteous clan would accept a player with his toxic ban history. The big guy brings up his terrible server rep, even with the underground wiped out. Using his maxed out charisma, the boy guarantees the gang wipe event will totally reset his negative karma. For the combo finisher, the kid drops the spoiler that the guild master already approved the ex-criminal's application. Backing up the lore, the wholesome patriarch declares it's an absolute honor to recruit a player who dropped the toxic grind. The meathead listens in pure shock as the Lord orders him to scrub his gamertag clean by following the family's honor code. With total chat energy, the master lays down the server rules. The daily quest is to complete one wholesome deed, and the reward is unlocking the pavilion leader rank in exchange. This massive flex of pure trust and Jigachid vibes actually hits the ex-thug right in the feels. Clenching his fists super tight, he embraces his brand new character arc. Dropping to his knees, he uninstalls his criminal software and pledges absolute loyalty to the Bake clan. Overflowing with honor, he promises to dedicate his whole playthrough to this new glorious main quest. Through this cinematic cutscene, the former mobster officially locks in his slot as a respected member of the estate. The days speedrun by, and bouncy little kid footsteps break the quiet hallway. Glowing with hype, the little sister celebrates walking through the market with her favorite VIP guest. Buzzing with energy, the youngest spams requests for loot, toys, and treats at the stalls. Tugging the girl's sleeve, the reincarnated kid tells her to chill with the hype. Acting like the adult in the room, he reminds them of the squad rule: stick together so nobody disconnects in the crowd. The ex-mobster's newly married girl is glowing with max HP and a massive smile as she walks with them. The hero mentally notes this whole event is basically a victory lap to celebrate her miracle recovery. The brother tries to save his coins, but completely caves to his little sister's cute aesthetic and agrees to fund her shopping spree. Watching the chaotic squad, the MC sighs and pings the group to get their attention. Side by side, the boy and the meathead spectate the totally wholesome, unscripted happiness from a distance. The pint-sized master drops a comment about how awesome it is to see the young woman's HP bar finally full again. All up in his feelings, the warrior admits his entire server crashed when she caught that debuff. The kid hits his bro with some emotional support, confirming the righteous family will forever be their ultimate safe zone. The gorgeous lady interrupts, demanding snacks and officially declaring their current playthrough is flawless. The youngest sister hits the sprint button, dragging her brother through the crowded bazaar. Catching the vibe, the kid jokes that the sister-in-law got a little too buffed by the healing, and the big guy chimes in saying he wants some free loot too. Suddenly, the kid whips his head around, realizing a crucial party member is missing from the minimap. He notices the sister-in-law and his little sister already bolted to the snack stand, leaving him to wonder where the MVP of this whole trip is hiding. In a random dark alley, a shuffle ruins the vibe of the brightly lit market. Shadow camping, the old artisan watches the family in absolute silence. The kid spots him, remembering the invite that guaranteed this family trip would be a W. Seeing his daughter's smile, the boomer gets a massive buff of peace to his heart. The big guy loudly hypes up his girl's beauty, making the hiding boomer dad swell with pride. Content with the cutscene, the master of disguises tries to stealth his way out, but the former drifter spawns right behind him, claiming he already read that cowardly move. The little tactician asks if he's seriously fast. Traveled all the way here just to log out right before the main event. Keeping it real, the kid orders the artisan to stop throwing, man up, and actually talk to his own kid. Gripping his bamboo hat, the old guy freezes, totally out of dialogue options. A massive debuff of guilt completely takes over the old fugitive's face. He confesses he feels like trash for making her suffer, claiming he hasn't unlocked the right to use the dad title and is way too embarrassed to approach her now. Sag, the old guy swears that just spectating her from the sidelines is enough to heal his tired heart. The young hero looks at his ally, keeping a super empathetic and understanding gaze. Then he immediately drops a reality nuke on the boomer, demanding he make up for his AFK years, so the young woman doesn't have to solo her own wedding. Hitting the emotional damage multiplier, the kid explains how brutal it is for a bride to spawn in with zero family on her big day. He finishes the combo by saying if the big guy ever acts toxic in the future, it's the dad's literal job to body the son-in-law. Hearing his name dropped from across the map, the criminal snaps his neck around with the youngest sister riding on his shoulders. Feeling totally flamed, the ex-thug rages, screaming that he's going to simp for his wife until the end of time. Panicking, the old master begs the big guy to stop bullying the kid, while the groom tries to explain it's just banter. Watching this absolute circus, the old man lets out a huge sigh of relief. The visual of his daughter's smile completely floods the emotional boomer's brain with pure joy. Suddenly, the young woman detects an anomaly and locks her radar onto the dark alley. Pushing past the fear debuff, the master of disguises steps out of stealth mode and stops right in front of them. Total panic stun locks the artisan, who thinks he just threw the match and needs to dash away ASAP. But before he can cancel the animation, the young woman tackles him in a massive, warm hug, calling him dad. The boomer completely blue screens, frozen by the intense hug. Stuttering, he asks how she even scanned his ID after so many years of tragic lore. With tears in her eyes, she pulls up the memory of getting the amulet, revealing she always knew his true username. The girl admits she took a screenshot of his dad, stare in her brain, finally getting back that warm, fuzzy buff she missed so much. Hugging him tight, the dad hears that his kid never unequipped the jade because she wanted his protection. Trying to heal his guilt, she explains her playthrough wasn't actually that bad since she partied up with good NPCs, and her only real debuff was missing him. Squeezing the boomer's rough hand, she begs him to never log off on her again. Flashing a god-tier smile, the girl asks for the chance to be the ultimate dedicated daughter. The old fugitive just cries in absolute silence, whispering his little girl's name. Holding her hands, the master swears on his account he will never leave her lobby again. The beautiful reunion officially clears the forgiveness side quest right in the middle of the shopping district. Watching from afar, the kid is super proud he managed to 100% complete the mission. The little sister agrees, confirming the family cutscene is insanely wholesome. Secretly, the boy throws a party in his head for saving both the girl and the old artisan from their bad endings. But the second he checks on the big guy's happy ending, the quiet is shattered by an absolute sound warning. The ex-mob boss is ugly, crying at max volume while crushing the kid in a hug, losing his mind that his girl found her family. Bawling an absolute river, the meathead calls the old guy father-in-law and promises to heal her happiness forever. Judging the cringe, The hero finds it hilarious that this absolute unit of a warrior turned into a puddle in front of his new relative. The family strolls through the streets, dropping absolute proof that the power of love is a broken god tier healing buff. The hype party vibes take over the massive bake manor, with flower petals raining down in a super aesthetic, bright setting. Outside, the local NPCs are super confused by the wedding, knowing the family's kids are way too low level to get married. A random local drops the lore that the premium event isn't actually for the clan's blood heirs. The massive ceremony is dropping to officially lock in the marriage of the Rehab Pavilion's brand new admin. Rocking a stunning red skin, the bride walks down the aisle smiling, her good ending 100% secured. The giant flexes his romance stats by gently holding his girl's hand. Completely in his feels, the ex-criminal sheds actual tears of joy on his massive day. The kid takes the chance to troll, telling the groom to stop cheesing so hard before his face literally snaps in half. The giant takes bait on the public roast, calling the kid an absolute menace. Chilling in the VIP section, the old artisan smiles peacefully, just soaking in the whole premium event. The dad silently admits he never thought his HP would last long enough to walk his kid down the aisle. He whispers to the bake matriarch that he can finally log out in peace, but she instantly denies his request, reminding him about future grandkids. She sweetly points out the master still needs to stay online to keep his son-in-law in check and play with the babies. Agreeing with the wholesome request, the boomer just flashes a super relaxed, chill smile. The mom hypes up how beautiful the day is, guaranteeing the upcoming expansions will have even more Ws for them. The youngest sister locks her starry, baby eyes onto every single detail of the event. Completely mesmerized, she whispers about how absolutely cracked the bride's premium outfit is. The kid tries to fix his little sister's posture, but she totally ignores him, completely stunned by the bride. Totally innocent, she asks if she gets to equip a skin that beautiful when it's her turn to co-op life. The girl's pure energy drags the former drifter straight into a super dark, traumatic flashback. In his past playthrough, she suffered massive damage trying to heal her sick parents, and never got a single happy event for herself. The heavy weight of that lore makes the MC stare at her with extreme focus and soft vibes. Shaking off the cursed timeline, the hero gives her head a pat and swears that day will absolutely come. The young guy promises he'll farm up the most insane, premium, over-the-top wedding event ever for his favorite little sister. Jumping out of her chair, she completely loses her mind over her big bro's massive promise. The party keeps rolling, locking in fresh, happy response for the whole server. Super hyped, the little girl nods, living her absolute best life. The pint-sized tactician makes a mental vow to permanently delete their cursed timeline and secure the family's infinite happy ending. The days casually roll by after the beautiful duo queue of the girl and the meathead. A chill, natural quiet totally rules the massive bake estate. In a secret admin meeting, the patriarch declines a totally wild trade offer. Sitting across from the bride's old dad, the lord asks why he's trying to drop such insane loot. Dead serious, the master of disguises insists the clan leader accept the drop. He slides a stack of beat-up vintage manuals to the center of the table. Stunned, the patriarch tries to process the items rendering in front of him. Reading the ancient titles, the leader is absolutely shook to realize they are his family's true lost secret arts. The boomer confirms the ultra-rare loot legally belongs to the Bake bloodline. The guy explains the legacy knowledge was wiped from the server, heavily nerfing all the current heirs. Because of that, every new generation had to sacrifice their HP trying to reverse engineer the deleted styles. Blown away, the lord tries to download the sheer magnitude of the delivery. Mind-boggled, the dad asks how a random wanderer managed to farm such a priceless artifact. With a nostalgic look, the old ally says it's a super long and cursed lore dump from his past. His flashbacks trigger, taking him back to a rainy, nightmare phase in a dense forest. He recounts his desperate, low stamina escape through the martial world, just trying to avoid a game over. With zero hope left, the young fugitive couldn't find a single glitch to survive. Out of nowhere, a high-level master in a hat spawned in, pointing to a new questline for salvation. Because of that, the boomer entered the ultra-toxic PvP zone of the feared ghost faction. Inside, he drops the lore that his old guild leader was a hoarder who stole the back's sacred skills. Time degraded his memory of the event, but the RNG gods intervened, forcing him to finally return the stolen goods. Feeling the stamina drain of his age, the boomer says he wants to pay them back for carrying his precious daughter. The patriarch counters, saying the manor's whole gimmick is being a free heal and a meat shield for low-level players. Super tired, The Lord rejects such a massive reward for doing basic daily quests. Dripping with wisdom, the artisan insists his daughter's well-being is literally priceless. Pressuring his own dad, the kid demands the Lord just take the family's ultimate loot already. Watching the cutscene, the young guy puts all the lore puzzle pieces together in his head. He finally figures out how this boomer managed to survive so many high-level aggro mobs while on the run. The boy orders the leader to skip the dialogue options and just equip the manuals, arguing that rejecting the loot will just trigger bad rep with the bride's family. He instantly gets the old artisan to back his play. Cornered, the leader finally drops his shield and accepts the historic relic. A massive, relieved smile completely upgrades the wholesome patriarch's face. Gripping the ancient patch notes, he cries, confessing he can finally face his legendary ancestors without taking an L. With the true skills unvaulted, the master guarantees a colossal server-wide buff for his family for all upcoming seasons. The tactician smirks like a boss, celebrating the epic finale of his massive, high-risk master plan. That exact same night, the kid gives the old boomer props for his totally natural, flawless acting skills. Cracking up, he praises the absolute zero-defect script the guy cooked up. Chilling in the shadows, the boomer confirms it was his absolute peak criminal masterpiece, packed with fake lore. However, he swears he's permanently uninstalling his shady skills, and the kid backs his retirement, demanding he only focus on his daughter now. Sipping some high-tier night tea, the boomer tries to analyze the whole lobby with perfect clarity. Shooting straight, he asks if the kid orchestrated this entire campaign from day one, just to secure those specific manuals. A toxic little smirk reloads on the brat's face as he points out a massive hole in that theory. The young guy admits the item forgery was just a last-minute audible he called after realizing the man's crafting stats. With a slick Parker jump, the kid lands perfectly on his feet in the dark yard. Acting sweet, he guarantees all the gang chaos was 100% part of his hyper-calculated metastrat. The kid also drops the reason why the boomer had to steal the credit for the sacred techniques in front of his dad. The boy explains the Lord would have a literal heart attack if he saw an 8-year-old coding impossible legacy skills. Trolling back, the boomer disagrees, pointing out the simp Lord would blindly swallow whatever cap his golden child fed him. Instantly dropping the joke filter, the hero locks onto the old master with absolute, dead serious focus. The leaves blow by, breaking the heavy, dense silence that just spawned between them in the private lobby. With totally justified ego, the pint-sized master declares that he actually was the dev who engineered those techniques. The wise master stares deep into the brat's soul, showing zero panic and asking no hostile questions. Bathed in the moonlight, the boomer confesses his massive playtime in the overworld totally deleted his ability to be shocked by glitches or absurd lore. Without hesitating, he nails the theory, suggesting the kid might actually be some ancient, cracked, high-level entity trapped inside a tiny low-res avatar. Shaking from the jump scare, the reincarnated kid totally freezes, forcing a super long, fake laugh and claiming it was just a troll to spook superstitious boomers. Smoking his pipe with pure zen, the old guy clocks the feared debuff on the kid's face. Realizing exactly what a clever little fox he is for trying to hide his monstrous true stats, the kid decides to just let the chat die, fully aware he didn't fool the high-perception boomer. Going along with the canon lore, the old guy declares it's better to just stick to the script, pretending the wanderer found the book, to keep the server stable and the kid's secret unbanned. Super noble and loyal, the man locks in his oath, muting his own useless curiosity to protect the boy. The kid accepts the deep loyalty pledges in absolute silence, his heart super grateful and trusting in their new duo dynamic. The hero locks in the bond, swearing his own HP on the unquestionable character of the family's new secret carry. The man hypes up the brat's wholesome genius, calling it the ultimate legendary drop from the heavens. The big sad returns to the immature eyes of the kid, who's currently hard, carrying this massive victory. Staring at the calm water, the kid corrects his ally's dialogue, claiming the real divine RNG was getting picked up off the streets by the wholesome, protective adopted dad they have right now. A flood of hardcore, gory flashbacks heavily debuffs the mental state of the quiet little tactician. If he hadn't been picked up by friendly hands while roaming the dark zones in his past, he 100% would have evolved into a toxic, server-wiping tyrant by the endgame, with zero real squadmates. Back in the cursed beta days of his old world, the terrifying warrior was just a lost, starving stray in a brutal, glitchy abyss, knowing nothing but max-level pain, hunger, and toxic street PvP, with zero good endings or holy buffs in his innocent head. But then, That boomer with a glowing heart spawned in, permanently saving his honor, and totally buffing the kid's new playthrough. The compassionate dad power leveled him in the peaceful meta of living right, without griefing randoms for selfish loot or dirty, blood-stained coins in the wind. The wholesome lord showed the server the pure meta of protecting noobs, using the clan's righteous stats to block any tyrant trying to ruin the chill, honorable playthrough desired by all the legit, high-honor heroes scattered across the map, standing under the cinematic, glowing skybox of the beautiful night. Eternally grateful, the warrior admits he only plays the good guy route because of the massive top-tier influence of his current martial sponsor, whose flawless, endless tutorials completely patched the corrupted files of his old broken life. Watching the pure gratitude flowing from the kid's calm dialogue, the wholesome partner nods and bows his head, paying silent, massive respect to everything and nothing all at once, honoring the genius little reincarnator they have chatting right there in that stunning, chill AFK zone, soaking up the good vibes to wash away the permanent debuffs of their traumatic pasts. Those exhausting, endless survival runs where neither of them could pause the game for almost 2 huge decades of pure misery, which finally hit the ultimate happy ending for the whole friend group, thanks entirely to the kids' mega brain strats that perfectly orchestrated every single W up to this glorious, cinematic moment. Satisfied, the old boomer smiles, declaring that high-honor playthroughs always get the best drops at the end of a grueling survival run, making up for the crushing daily debuffs and unfair solo queue misery so many players face. The bright sun drops an infinite peace buff over the entire zone, perfectly stabilized by the flawless strat cooked up by pure god tier IQ. Absolutely tilted, the giant screams his lungs out, completely outraged by the unhinged idea he just had to hear twice. The big guy panics, asking if the brat's software crashed, wanting to recruit toxic street rogues and dump them straight into the purified, high-tier manor owned by the server's most legendary anti-grief squad. Dodging attacks in their sparring session, the kid smirks, canceling out the fear and admitting it's definitely an insane strat for the casuals, laughing off the obvious aggro while keeping his guard perfectly framed against his partner's heavy combos in their sweaty, hardcore daily grind under the blazing sun on the clean, rocky training stage. Defending his cracked 200 IQ logic, he warns that the vast majority of those fallen gangs are destined to get permanently banned in the gutter, their files completely corrupted until their last breath, meaning finding actual pure, salvageable players is basically a 0% drop rate in this toxic, shadow-corrupted server that society constantly flames, reports, and bans without a second thought, landing perfect, hyper-fast critical hits with zero chill. He combos his speech, pointing out that the massive giant himself only got patched and became a respectable, high-honor player because of the miracle buff he got from the sweet courtesan. Stumbling from the knockback, the meathead gets instantly triggered by the verbal disrespect, demanding to know if the cocky, loudmouth brat didn't think he was already a decent guy deep down in his cursed lore, even before his girl saved him with her massive, top-tier healing aura of love. Refusing to cancel his attack animations on the giant adult master, the MC slides right through the dialogue, instantly parrying the accusation. Trying to tank the furious barrage of child-sized punches, the exhausted powerhouse crosses his massive, armored arms into an X block, eating the frontal hits the kid was spamming right at his face. Continuing the tutorial, the tactician points out that finding pure gold isn't just some basic RNG event, it requires a totally stupid, cosmic lottery ticket from the server itself. Hyped about his own mature, big-brain deductions, the little dude jumps back with a trollish laugh, wrapping up the logic puzzle with absolute, unblockable facts. Literally overheating from the brat's zero filter trash talk, the giant master grabs the kid's cheeks, squeezing and twisting his face, demanding he nerf his toxic chat and stop abusing his VIP privileges to constantly spam annoying, unskippable dialogue. Spawning in suddenly with max elegance and some beautiful loot baskets in the fresh, aesthetic courtyard, the newly healed and married girl drops a super cute, wholesome laugh, smoothly nerfing her giant, grumpy husband's aggro with pure, chill vibes, stopping him from endlessly beefing with the manor's adorable, mega genius tactician. She playfully notes that the chaotic duo is totally inseparable when they PvP, but secretly heavily invested in their co-op bond. The kid dashes away, spamming requests for her to pocket heal him, until he literally bumps into the wise, adopted dad who just loaded into the zone and witnessed the whole circus, quickly using the Lord as a meat shield against the giant's aggro. The kid drops aggro while the leader asks about the chaotic lobby vibes between the two problem players who constantly duel, troll, and secretly respect each other without ever actually using the soft dialogue options. Dodging the giant's playful ganks, the kid ends the theatrical event, munching on some consumables and jumping back to his absolutely unhinged, high-risk, mega-profit master plan. The wild strat instantly triggers Mac's curiosity in the wise, veteran lord, who demands the full patch notes immediately. The map transitions to the massive, ultra-cozy premium VIP lounge, totally locked down from any eavesdropping NPCs. The tea drops aesthetic steam in the middle of the room, while the ticking timer is hyped up for dramatic effect. The MC hits a critical logic check, demanding hardcore action, and the powerful lord nods, approving the strat with absolute, glowing leader IQ. Locked in, the reincarnated guy exposes the massive double-edged RNG event that just randomly spawned right in their laps. The kid recaps the absolute structural wipe that completely deleted the underground factions from the server. This server wipe created massive, glitchy, toxic void zones across the entire political map of their huge county. Backing up his genius little bro's heavy endgame theories, the wise old butler confirms the strat is absolutely flawless for boosting the Bake clan's rep to the moon, so they can dominate and carry the server. The manor's incredibly aesthetic, tanky, and premium front gates are highlighted, basically flexing their infinite respawn of prosperity. But the harsh debuff is mentioned to keep the base safe, warning the lord about toxic griefers trying to wall, bang and shatter their safe zones. Downing his tea, the kid pitches the absolute urgency to spam recruit heavy tank units to guard the borders. Flexing insane main character energy, the former drifter points directly to the ultimate fix: recruiting the downed, rogue NPCs who are desperately spamming the chat for a revive, begging to join a legit guild and escape their toxic pasts. Totally stunned, locked and completely mind-blown, the boomer admins in the room just stare at the kid's absolutely god-tier, boundary-breaking 5D, chess mastermind brain that's casually running the entire server. Pausing the game for a sec, the wholesome master runs a vibe check on the extreme patch notes. Flexing his pure benevolent admin stats, he worries about the hidden toxic traits of these rescued street rogues, terrified of getting backstabbed by his own recruits. Right on cue, the giant drops the massive lore that his own former minions have been crying in his DMs, begging for a guild invite and some rations to escape their trash rep. The partner clarifies he declined their requests, but the kid jumps in, hyping up the giant's chat logs and screaming that this is the exact, flawless core mechanic they need to complete his insane grand strategy for the current arcs. Without missing a frame, he vouches that these penitent mobs need a hard carry, and points directly to the massive, premium Bake clan as the ultimate safe haven to heal, respec, and totally upgrade these broken players who are stuck in the mud of their trash tier choices. Keeping it 100% real, he admits there will be some permanently corrupted, unbannable trolls that are just impossible to carry. Smiling and completely delegating the nightmare grind, the kid shoves the entire brutal, high-stress admin job of filtering, banning, and carrying these toxic noobs straight into the massive, tanky hands of his giant partner. Knowing the myth had finally unlocked his pure, high-honor stats thanks to his wife's miracle buff. Spooked and totally confused, Gu brain buffers as the massive admin role gets dropped in his lap, hearing the strict order to permaban the unsalvageable players. Absolutely mesmerized, the lord drops a like on the strategy, praising his son's wholesome crusade to revive dead accounts. The patriarch officially patches the giant in as the server admin of rehab, sending the meathead into a complete panic attack. Radiating pure, unblockable wholesome energy, the guild dad uses his maxed out authority buff to basically force the giant to accept the title. Completely stunned, locked by the leader's gigachadora, the big guy struggles but ultimately accepts the terms of service, while the kid literally laughs out loud at his dad's broken pay to win negotiation tactics. The chill courtyard cinematic perfectly caps off the manipulator's flawless W, perfectly contrasting with his giant alley raging in the background, just wanting to log off in peace.